Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports. It is our weekend program, Saturday Sports Special to be exact. Well, it's your premier platform for sports discussion across Grenada and I'll say the Caribbean. I'm Michael Bascom, your host, along with my co-host, Rudian Silvan, who is in Toronto, Canada. And today we focusing on youth development in athletics. Yes, youth development in athletics, and one of the programs making a real impact in the parish of St. John. And we are joined by Coach Gary James of Top Flight Athletics, and he's also the coach of St. John's Christian Secondary School. As we say, welcome, Coach. Welcome to the Talk Sports. Welcome, Coach Gary James. Let me see. We have you now, Coach. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you again, Rudian,
Yeah,
from
good afternoon, Mike,
Toronto,
and
joining us.
it's a pleasure to be here.
Right, thank you very much. Well, Coach, first of all, well, congratulations, I would say. And first of all, take us back. What inspired you to start Top Athletics, and how has that program evolved?
All right, well, thank you very much for the congratulations, Mike. Well, the formation of the club, it started quite a while now. Most people would know me from basketball, but I also have a background in track and field. I competed at the Carifta Games in 2003. I did most of the jumps, long, high, triple. I wasn't fortunate to get a medal, but I was fourth, and fifth, I believe. So that experience was quite wonderful. I started a branch off after that, and I started playing basketball. So most people know me in the basketball arena, with season sparklers and even with Shaper School. What happened? I went to study and in 2010, and that's in Cuba. When I came back in 2016, I noticed that there wasn't anything being done in track and field in the parish. The club at the time, that was Speed Zone, they moved to St. George's. So at the time in St. John's, there wasn't anything being done in track and field. So I started to took it up on my own, along with Brendan Joseph, and we started to work with some of the younger kids in the parish. Same Ian George, he was part of that as under 11. Leet and Sam and Shama Andrew, all those guys were there. Alena Dikoto, Talia Sims, Samson was some of the names that was with us at that time. And from there, it started took off. We were still running under the Speed Zone banner because although Brendan Joseph kind of insisted that we start our own club, Speed Zone is what I knew. So I wanted to kind of continue with that tradition. Speed Zone is Speed Zone, Speed Zone is St. John. So we were still running under the banner of Speed Zone. Due to certain circumstances that ended, and we were then running under the school. That's the school Shapers Turners. So we were competing under Shapers Turners for a few years, and we had some good athletes come up through the ranks. We had athletes like Rolando Benjamin and Neil Peters. I know how many people can remember Neil Peters. He's a former national champion in the 100 as well. He's a 10-5 guy, and I'm sure he could have gone faster. That year, COVID came. I think he was on road to run around 10-1, 10-2. So Ian is not actually the first guy that we have had in those sort of range. So the it went from under the Shaper Stars barrier to to us trying to find out identity, So in conversation with my brother, that's Kirani, and my sister, I wanted to start a club. I said we had to form a club. We need a club because athletes were coming, and there were talent in the area, talent in St. John's, and we had to find a way to kind of nurture that. So we had to start a club by one way or the other, and they were kind of behind it. They were behind it from the get-go. So the support was there, and they encouraged. We even had a few names that we wanted to the thing, Pegasus, Aspire, Phoenix. This was some of the names that we started with, and somehow I think Top Flight was in the mix, and one of the sports in St. John's. I can't remember which school sports, but the commentator wanted to kind of big up the coach and the club, and somebody just mentioned Top Flight Athletics, Top Flight Track Club, and it kind of just took off from there. You know, it was kind of catchy, so that is how it kind of stuck as Top Flight Athletics, and here we are today, Top Flight Athletics. Presently, we have about 25 athletes consistently training. Times like, okay, before intercall, you know, you'll find those that just come and train for that magic purpose. The 2 weeks before intercall, 3 weeks before intercall, athletes will just show up in the park. But to say those that have been consistently training with us is about 20 to 25. We have Ian Judge, Tama, Andrew, Neron, Theodore. I don't want to name everybody because I know I'll miss out, but we have quite some talent, and we're just here trying to nurture and trying to grow as a club and grow as a parish.
It's an interesting you mentioned, because just briefly your background in terms of your training in Cuba. You know, that's one. You know, you studied I think what, physical education. In Cuba, that's one. As a disclaimer, we should also say you're the brother of Kirani James, and also briefly you mentioned that basketball was your first love. So why track and field? I mean,
I wouldn't say my first love. Track and field was actually my first love. I started in track,
but you excel in basketball.
I excel in basketball. Yeah, I excel in basketball. So why track? As I said, the love for it was always there. That was never gone. And when I came back and I saw the need for it, because there were people coaching basketball in St. John's at the time, Coach Imi and Coach Benji, they were there coaching basketball at the time, but there was nobody doing track and field. So I saw the need for it then. And even though it was a real tough journey starting, because sometimes I would be on the field me alone. I was there ready to coach, and there was nobody to coach. And even when Ian started coming, just recently we were just joking and kicking and that it was two madmen in the park, just me and Ian in the park, hot sun, rain. There was just two of us in the park. So there were all these challenges, but I'm kind of happy I stuck with it, and some of these kids are now reaping the benefit. So there was a need for it.
You have also built a strong program at the St. John's Christian Secondary School. What has been the key to that success?
Well, the key really to that success in St. John's Christian Secondary School is the support structure. When you have a principal that's behind you, it makes it easier. When you have teachers that are with you, they support you, they support the athletes, they support the kids, then it makes it easier. I can mention some of the teachers that are instrumental in that development. Tassetti Jones, there was Joel Lewis, but he's now studying, so he's not at the school presently, but he always checks up, he always asks, he always Shandy Knight, that's my assistant, Hezekiah Matthew, Zari Julian. So we have all these people who are sort of assisting. So it's not just one person. It's not me alone. You know, so once you have that structure and that support system, then it makes it easier. And yeah, big up the principal and the staff, and even the cooks, the people that run the talk shop, everybody's behind us. So it makes it easier.
On a lighter side, Kirani was on our program a few weeks ago, and he mentioned that, you know, GBSS wasn't his first choice. He just actually ended up in GBSS. He actually said St. Rose more than secondary school.
St. Rose.
St. Rose.
Was
you St. Rose or St. John's Christian? Gary, you?
So I went to St. John's Christian at the time,
St. John's
but
Christian.
he passed. He was St. Rose, but at the time when he passed common entrance, there really wasn't any structure. I'll be honest, there really wasn't any structure. Neither at the schools in St. John's, but so yeah, he had to find the best place where he could have nurtured that talent. But now I can say things are different, and this is our urge as well to the parents in the parish.
Yeah.
Let's move from sending our top athletes to St. George's or to St. Patrick's. We can do it right here, and we have proof that we can do it right here because there is structure now, and it can be done right here.
Mhm. Rudy, and before I go to you, greetings, sporting family, and special greetings to Coach James, and congratulations, certainly. And also, thank you so much, Mr. James, for all you do. Rudian?
Yeah, Mr. James. To be careful, I don't say Dr. James. So to be careful. But certainly, for and foremost, I just want to congratulate you on your success for this year. Not going back for the past few years, for this year, and more success to come because the season is not finished yet.
Thank
So
you.
a quick question: in Grenada, there have always been a need for youth sports, always from since going back to the 80s. What really make you see the need for it to come back to give it? Because a lot of times people come back and when you really ask them what is the need, they don't really know why. They just say, "Like, just come back."
Yeah,
But what did you
yeah.
see as really the need to come back and start that? And not only in St. John's, but there's certainly across Grenada because we're seeing the change. So what do you think from your perspective is that?
Yeah. Well, part of it, to be honest, is where I studied. Cuba has a phenomenal youth structure, I should say. Once those kids are ID'd from a certain age, then they are placed in a sports school where all they train sometimes twice a day. Well, not sometimes, they train twice a day and they would do their studies in between, but they would stay at that school. So I grew up, I kind of not grew up, but I saw that structure and I saw how it was beneficial to countries like as Cuba because most of Cuba national teams would have been people from 16 to 19, 20, 21. And that's as national senior teams. It's young athletes, So I kind of saw it as that's very important. You must have the youth in sports to have longevity, to have continuity. And that's what I saw. So that's why when I came back, my focus was starting with the grassroots level. I think once we have a good grassroots program, it's like having in football, you have the academies and so on. Real Madrid will have their academy and they will always be able to supply, you know, players to the senior team. So that's kind of how I was looking at it. Once we have a good grassroots program, then we'd always have athletes coming through. We'd always have athletes coming through.
Mhm. Let me see some more. Melissa St. Rose, kudos, brother Gary James, and good afternoon to you, Edwin Sam. Hello to all. Mr. Sam, I hope you're back up in New Jersey safely from the Kerfley games. We were all at the Kerfley games. Um, let's talk about Ian George. You mentioned him, you mentioned others, but he has been in the spotlight. Arguably the fastest schoolboy in Grenada right now, right?
Yeah.
When did you realize he had this level of potential?
Well, from since he was in primary school at St. Peter's Harris School, from since he was there, I noticed that he was very talented because he and Ethan, they were two other guys that were competing from since that time. Ethan would normally win the shorter sprints, the one, the two, but he would win the three, the four, the longer sprints because he's 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 a more powerful athlete if you want to say it like that. Even now we can see he can go from one to four, one to two, one to four. He can do everything. So since that time I noticed that he had that talent.
You- Um, Jerry Sincere said, I've known Gary for many years, from secondary school basketball to one of the best basketball players in Grenada. Well, Gary, that's where I knew you, basketball, right? I have
Yeah,
to see that. Covered you with basketball, with sparklers, blah, 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 you know.
yeah,
His transition and success as an athletics coach is not surprising. I wish him and his athletes the very best in the future. Jerry Sincere himself,
Mr. Sincere.
basketballer, former basketballer, now administrator. Um, if we have to look at how Ian has basically dominated Intercall as a sprint champion,
Mhm.
one and the two, albeit he won the 100 meters in a win aided 10.39.
Yeah,
2.4, I think, was the wind speed. And at the
yes,
Carifta Games, the same 10.39, but legal. Um,
yeah.
so he just missed out a medal in the 100 meters at the Carifta Games. What lessons you
Yeah.
think came out of that experience?
Well, I would say it's just Ian not being able to medal at the Carifta was due to a few, not a few reasons, but during intercall, the hits after the hits in the 100 meters, he felt a niggle close to the end in the hamstring, and we were not certain if he was going to run the finals. But after some management and we did some therapy at the back and so on, wrapped it up. We said we were going to warm up and see how it feels, which is what we did. And he said it felt good. So we tried it. My thing was, if you feel anything, just stop. If you feel anything, stop. And so then came the 200, and we still were not sure. I remember one of the interviews he did, and he said that we were not sure. We were going to evaluate and see exactly how he feels, which is what happened. And between in the hamstring, we couldn't do any of the runs that would help with the finish of the race. No, I knew definitely that we might have a problem at the finish. I couldn't tell him that. My job then was just to keep him motivated, keep him energized, keep him, and get ready to go for Carifta. Now I sort of had a feeling that that might have been a problem because we couldn't do any of the runs that would help with the speed endurance for the one and the two. So it was not surprising to me that he was leading 1 point in the race. And it was just the way that he normally would, so it wasn't surprising to me. But I thought he did pretty well. He's satisfied, he's pleased because our aim was to get to 10.2 for the Carifta games. That was kind of our aim. 10.2, 20.8. That was our objective we had set from since August. So it came pretty close. I do believe that if it wasn't for those niggles, he would have been able to achieve that and achieve a medal. So there was not much to take from that aspect of it, but from the overall games itself, I think there's a lot we can take from it. I had conversation with coaches, some of the coaches from Jamaica and so on, and we are behind. We have a lot of work to do, from the athletes to the coaches to the administrators, supporters. Work to do.
Rudian?
I last comment you said there, speaking to the Jamaicans, that we have a lot of work to do. It's a little bit I disagree with that, because I've seen progress, and I think for some of us, and I say us, upon the body of those who watch sports, want progress to happen right away, and I've seen progress. And certainly, I'm, I long discussion I had, and I said, when you look at Jamaica, you have maybe three exceptional athletes. You have a 15-year-old run 45 points, you have an 18-year-old run 10 points, and then you have that hurdler girl that went 12 points. That's exceptional. But the rest of the athletes can compete against the rest of the Caribbean in the youths.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
you have the exceptions. So certainly, when I hear people always talk about Jamaica and the sprinting pool and everything, well, guess what? We're catching up now.
Yeah.
The rest of the Caribbean islands is catching up now. So certainly, like I said, I see the change and I like the growth of what I've seen. We don't have this exceptional kids because we do want our kids to grow. We want them to represent us on the world
Yeah.
stage and bring medals home. That we don't want them to, before they get to the age of 20, we don't know if they're going up or going down because they almost running times that's unbelievable, right? So certainly, like
Burn
I
out.
said, I like the growth. I think there is, and it does come with when the country is behind you, when the government is behind the youth sports and they are putting support in it, when we getting help from the outside businesses to invest in the young people. You have seen the growth, and I've seen the growth. And when you talk about when you started to where you are now, it didn't just happen yesterday. It takes a while to get there. They work hard and they trickle up and they trickle up and they get to where they go. So the growth is good, which is what I'm seeing. I am very, very impressed and I'm very proud of our coaches in Grenada to see the improvement, a lot of the grassroots that they started, and then you are seeing the growth of these athletes coming up. So listen, kudos to you guys as coaches. But I would never, say we have a lot of work to do. I think yes, everybody can improve. There's always improvement, but I think we're on the right path
Brilliant. No,
to
no, but
get the athletes great.
well, I
Yeah.
think the point he's making, and which I think um, Kevin is saying that we are behind. We have to admit that the
Yeah.
fact is we are behind.
We are
Yes,
behind. Yeah.
we
Mhm.
and there are structures that we can put in place to ensure that we can get in strides. But we, as um, Liz is saying, we are getting there. We are not there yet, but we are getting there. But we have to admit
Yeah.
that
Definitely.
we are behind.
Definitely. Yeah. We're
For-
behind.
right, and
But I'm
from your
actually right.
perspective, what does it take for an athlete to transition from the local success to competing with the best in the Caribbean? So, I mean, bringing on to the point that Rudian is making and what the others are saying, what it takes then, and that's coach from your perspective, to do for that sort of transition from the local success as like an intercall to competing with the best in the Caribbean.
Well, there's no secret behind it. There's no secret behind it. It's just hard work. I've seen it. I've seen it from up close with Kirani. It's just hard work. It's just discipline. Um, Sheer determination, willpower. You just have to have that belief, that self confidence that hey, we are good enough. We are just as good as And I think once our athletes have that, then the sky's the limit for us.
Mhm. So no, Kevin is saying Silver not getting it. You'll get the time, Silver, to clarify that. We do have a lot of work to do. Edwin is saying yes, we do have a lot of work to do. And so where does Grenada currently stand in terms of sprint development compared to the region? Because sometimes we use that as a gauge, right? When we're looking at track and field, and especially when we sort of ranking ourselves and try to compare ourselves, especially with the Jamaicans, because they're known as the sprint factory. They are, a Jamaican, for example, youth athlete can run 10-3, 10-4, and probably not in the final of their boys and girls champs, for example. 10-2 is comfortable for them in the boys. You see what the girls are running phenomenal times and things. So where does Grenada
Yeah.
currently stand in terms of the sprint development compared to the region?
I think we are right up there with some of the bigger countries, some of the bigger islands. I would not say we are I wouldn't say we are there with Jamaica and so on as yet, but I think we are right there with some of the bigger countries. I think this is our first year we have won a medal in the hurdle category. So even in that area, things are looking up. Things are looking up for us. But I think generally throughout the Caribbean, the level has risen. If you look at some of the races and the competition now, I think at under 20. Kirani won with 20.7 or something like that. And that was only able to get a bronze medal this year. So that is just to show you where the level is now. So I think the level is a lot higher. 10.39 would have gotten you a medal in years gone by. So I think the level regionally have risen from everybody. But I am confident that we are right there with some of the bigger islands. We are right there with them.
Lincoln is saying, Lincoln deputy say there's progress, but Gary is right. Grenada and the other smaller islands have a lot of work to do. Running techniques must improve and some must muscle up, not to be Mr. Olympiad, but for some more muscle strength, he's saying. If we are struggling to compete at the Carifta, we don't stand a chance at high levels like the Pan Am, Commonwealth, World Championships, and the Olympics. And Liz is saying, I know my son coach have been doing a lot, but as he said, we have a lot to do. And I love my coach. The words hard with he works hard with his club, right? Rudian?
Yeah, certainly. Now, when I go back on my statement, like, I'm thinking about this, right? Because Kirani didn't have to leave Grenada to be successful. Kirani was in Grenada, training in Grenada. And in his performance. So certainly, like I said,
that could be subjective, eh? I mean,
I get that, right?
No, compared to 10, 15 years ago,
yes.
A lot of things have changed.
No, but what we're saying that we are seeing the growth in the Caribbean, like you just said clearly. The athletes are competing with some of the Jamaican athletes. They really are competing. You look at the Guyanese now. These are the athletes that you see. So there is some sort of progression. Like I said, if you exclude some of the top 2 or top 3 athletes who is top tier athletes in Jamaica, the rest of the Caribbean athletes can compare with them. Not necessarily about winning, but they can compare with them. They're running right there with them, right? So, and this is what we are seeing. We are seeing the growth of the coaches. The coaches are doing a wonderful job. Yeah, we say we need to do more, but define more. What is more? That's the point I never understand, although I never get. When they say we need to do more, what is more? What does more mean? So it's certainly that, we are doing everything and gradually growing our athletes to where we want to be. We see the success of Trinidad, we see the success of Bahamas, Barbados. We are seeing the success of those coaches because they are building their athletes up slowly. They are doing the thing. So I don't understand when they say we need to do more. The more, I don't get it. I think coaches are doing phenomenal, and I think everything is coming in place. But the more, I don't understand what more that you guys need to do as coaches.
Gary, as a coach, could probably qualify because I think we heard that from other coaches that there's something that can be done. Gary?
Yeah.
As you mentioned Trinidad a while ago, after a few years, Trinidad have struggled at the Carifta level. Last year before, and so on. But this year, you can see a difference in the level of performance in Trinidad and Tobago. So something happened. Something definitely happened.
Yeah. And I think, and Gary, just before you finish, let me just add this. I think a part of it has to do with investment. And I think, like we see how I strongly believe, like right now, and I always say I am so impressed with my government who are in charge now. And the investment that they are putting into the youth. And I think that's really what it is. Now, some of these leaders start seeing the investment and seeing what they can do by investing in the young people. And I think that makes a difference, right? So I think that what can change everything. Look at how many clubs we have in Grenada now. We never had that before. How many coaches is now getting involved? Then they're looking not only to just get involved, those coaches looking to get their levels in coaching. So yes, I would say that a lot of that have to do with, a lot of, like, Grenada is sending a lot of coaches to go out and get the levels. That's what, we are seeing. So certainly, again, the investment in the young people, I think that's what it is. And that's what Jamaica been doing over the past years. Now that's where we are doing this now so that we can improve. And that's what was missing all the time. It's just that there was nobody investing in the young people and like it is today. So I think that is the big key and that is the big difference. But sooner or later you will see other islands is coming up and taking over in the sport.
But the struggles are still there. The struggles are still there.
Yeah.
Lack of
You still
support
gotta
from
fight.
coaches and athletes.
You still
That's
gotta
there.
fight. You still gotta fight. Yeah.
Struggles are still there. So we're looking at it from the outside and saying, that we have to. No, there is no support. The coaches and the athletes, right? There is still no support. And I'm talking as a coach. There
Yeah.
is other things I have to do, and I have to get it done from my pocket. And this is me. This
Yeah.
is me being 100.
But
So
and Gary, let me say
in
this
terms
too.
of
So
support,
I mean,
I want to, I
I'm
want,
just
hold on.
one thing.
All right, finish up because you have some comments that coming in there.
Yeah, just one thing. Yeah, I'm here in Canada, and I have to go through the same thing. I'm doing the exact same thing, doing a lot of things coming from my pocket. So even as big as so there's an issue globally with the support in young people. But you see, some people is doing it, but not enough. All
Mhm.
right. So yeah,
Ellis says, I want to chime in to include more in terms of the field events. We didn't have a representative in the pole vault, not more than 2 athletes in the jumps, discus, and shot put. We are doing well on the track. The more can be done in the field events, and more means we have to strive for excellence. More means we have to strive for excellence. The comments are coming in quick. Lack of assistance for the clubs as well. And then Andon it says it boils down to the support system. Grenada got some great coaches.
coaches.
yeah, no support.
Lincoln says Kirani was a unique, naturally gifted kid. People like him come along few and far between. Others generally have raw talent that must be massaged daily, regularly by coaches and mentors. Kirani is exceptional. Not everyone he puts on a spike is a Kirani, right?
Secure.
So, coach, what would you say are the biggest challenges you face coaching, and not just coaching, but coaching particularly in Go Off St. John?
Well, as I was saying earlier, it's support. Um, Currently we have some wonderful parents in the club that are supporting us in terms of, for example, if you go to a meet in terms of things like refreshment and those things. But we need support. Besides that, we train daily, 6 days a week. Are the athletes nutrition right? Do they have spikes? Do they have shoes? Do they have even that academic support? Do they? So it's a lot of other structures we need in place to ensure that these kids are successful and they reach their full potential. So my whole thing is support structure for the clubs and the coaches as well. Because yeah, we're saying we have excellent coaches, but there's still a need for more coaches and properly trained coaches as well. Because even with top flight, we have Matty Phillip, who is doing a wonderful job. She deals with the smaller kids, the grassroots level, so that they can come up and continue that progress. But how many clubs have that structure? How many clubs have that the personnel to do that? Because even me and her, it's still not enough. Now we have other people coming on board. Kit St. Paul, Ryan Duncan, Natalia was helping with the throws until she got injured. Her shoulder was injured. So now we have people coming on board, and this is what we need going forward. We need good support.
Mhm. So, what next for your for top flight athletics and your athletes? What next?
Well, currently we are preparing for the Whitsuntide Games. That's we also have a few athletes competing at the Classic Lighting Invitational as well. And then so we have Ian who was also qualified for the World Juniors. So um, this is where we are right now. We are currently in preparation for those meets,
Mhm.
and we're just hoping for great things.
Yeah, well, you mentioned World Juniors. That's in
Yeah,
Oregon, United States.
that's it.
That will take place in the summer. So we wish him definitely all the best. And who are the next names that we should be watching, especially coming from top flight athletics?
Well, currently we have the national 800-meter champion. That's as Romel Charles. He ran a 153 point something this 1.3 or so this year, and we're looking at what possibly a 140 something come with some time, because that's where we gauge it at. I think he's capable of doing that. He has been working, so we have we have him. Shamo Andrew, he's a 47 guy currently. If we look at him from Intercal, he jogged the heat in 49.2, and somehow in the finals he didn't deliver. But he's a guy that's there with us, Niran Theodore. And we have some of the younger athletes coming up, uh, Raheem Stephen and those guys, T100 in the 800 as well. Um, Joshua Bradford, he's a sprinter. He was in the junior category this year, but he have been improving by leaps and bounds. We have Aquil Kumbabach. If you just look at the intercall, you notice that Shaper had a strong sub junior contingent. So we had Aquil Kumbabach. He's looking promising for the future once he continues with the way he have been for the past few months or so. We have Adriel Phillips. So we have quite a few names. What we're focusing on now is trying to get some of the girls to join the club and be a part of it. So we have some of the girls from the primary school, St. John's Anglican and St. John's Irish School. We're trying to get them on board to have them join and start training as soon as possible. So yeah, these are some of the athletes. Onisha have been working extremely hard. So yeah, these are some of the athletes that we have currently.
Right. What we have quite a few. Karen Batiste says, much respect to Coach Gary and what he is doing and building with top flight athletics. I think the investment needs to be targeted more into the developmental aspect of the sport. We are not nurturing and harnessing our talent enough, and it's due to the lack of support structure for the clubs. We got to address this. Too many excuses. Richard Pierre says we need to develop a strong coaching system and stop waiting on generational talent as Kirani and Anderson to put our name out there. Grassroots coaching is important. We do not just want clubs coming to local school sports meet and looking for the best athletes to bring them to their club. We need a structured coaching program that identifies and nurtures talent. And Elizabeth said, just as Brazil is good for football and they invest in their footballers, so is Australia is good at cricket, so too our country have to invest and give good support for our coaches and sports in Grenada. Haran Photo says, excellent job with top flight. Well, let me say athletics. Gary, if someone wants to contribute to the club directly, yeah, I know. That's why I said athletics. He said academy. If someone wants to contribute to the club directly, what mechanisms are in place? If someone wants to donate, and how has Corporate Grenada responded to your club's rise? We'll get to that momentarily. And Kevin say, yes, we need more girls involved in track and field. Getting back to Haran's question, Coach, what mechanisms are in place if someone wants to donate, and how has Corporate Grenada responded to your club's rise?
Well, right. So Top Flight, it's a relatively new club, right? So this is just basically our second year in right. So we are new. So right now we are currently in the process of having all those things straightened out, having all those things organized in terms of accounts and so on, and the formal structure where you can have treasurers and president, vice president, secretary, and all these things. Because as I said before, most of this stuff was just myself and a couple others. So now we have more people on board, and we have also gotten interest from some of the business places in Guelph, some of the business persons in Guelph as well. So we expect things to grow from here. We're expecting bigger things, and as soon as I have that information for certain, Harold, you'll be the first to know. Aaron, sorry.
Yeah, Aaron probably has a checkbook waiting. So, Aaron,
Yeah.
yeah.
Aaron is.
So, all right, Aaron. By the way, good job, Aaron, and Checkley. Good job in terms of the photos and thing for the intercall, Carifta games, and things like that. So, when you say limited resources, as you indicated earlier, what specifically are you lacking? Equipment, facilities? Well, you don't talk about funding. I guess as much
Yeah.
probably all, but um, we know it's a new club, as you said, just into your
Yeah.
second year. So obviously, quite a lot has to be done in terms of, in terms of the
Yeah.
structure itself.
Yeah.
But can you zero in on some of the limited resources that you're referring to?
Okay. A major stuff for us right now have been strength training. Currently there's no gym in St. John's. There is not a gym in St. John's. So most of our athletes right now, currently, as we speak now, they are downstairs by me in a little setup that I had that we invested in because we noticed the need for it. So they are down. I had to go downstairs before I started this interview to tell them keep quiet because they're downstairs by me. All right. So this is something that I think we need urgently. We need to have weight training for those kids. Once you start reaching that level, you need weight training. Not a if, it's not about equipment, ladders, even the harnesses and so on. We need all those things. Blocks. Right. Currently, we are using the starting blocks at the park in St. John's, and when you have 25 athletes and you only have 2 blocks or 3 blocks, it makes it hard. So things like starting blocks and all those stuff. Gears for the athletes. Some of the athletes, they don't have proper sneakers, proper spikes, in proper clothes. You might see the pants that they come to train with, and it's not stuff that is recommended for training. So even some of those things, these are things that we need. Um, Diet and maybe things like supplements for the athletes. These are things that we need daily. So these are some of the things that I think right now that we actually need.
And I think it strengthens Rudian's point about in terms of the clubs that we have an influx of clubs in Grenada now. So, and that is where probably is almost the feeder for what we are seeing at the intercall as an example, because the schools don't necessarily have a structured program per se, but they depend a lot on the clubs, right? And as it is now, I think it's only St. Patrick as a parish without a club, right? We have St. Marcus, we have I think it's probably the only one now, Top Flight is the only one in St. John's, right?
No, actually we have another one. We have Rising Star. Rising Champ, I believe.
Also,
Rising
right?
Champ.
Oh, so they are based in St. John's. Okay.
Yeah, they are based in St. John's as well.
Right. So you do have another one. And then we have about 3 or 2 or 3 in St. Andrew. We have in St. David. We have, so we've seen that the clubs are basically supporting the development of track and field in Grenada through the schools system, because most of the athletes who are in the clubs are in the various schools, and most of the coaches themselves also affiliated somewhere or the other with the schools, right? Right. And going back to Ian, because yes, you have quite a number of other athletes, but he is the star athlete of Top Flight athletics now. So let's use him as an example. And when you said probably, or it's identified that he needs more exposure, what type of exposure you're referring to, or should be insinuated? Is it international meets, training camps, or coaching support? What sort of exposure you think Ian needs right now?
Yeah, well, I think locally training camps is an excellent idea. We some of the coaches, we have had dialogue at the character games, and that is something that I think we can do going forward. Even just from my standpoint, Ian right now is the fastest person in top flight athletics. Sometimes some training that he might have and he's not challenged enough. So even collaborating with some clubs and on some days, maybe they may have a speed walk or something like that, or speed endurance. So maybe I can go to Progress Park, or I can go to Dante, and have those guys train with the other guys at that level or guys around the similar level. I think that could help in terms of his progress. Because if you're just running for yourself all the time, I mean, sometimes you're not motivated, you lose that drive, you lose that edge, And regional competition is always something that's going to help. Always something that's going to help. The more you compete, the more you stay sharp. The more you have different meets. Okay, for example, during the year, there are some meets we use. Okay, we're going to work on this in this meet. We're going to work on something else in that meet. We're going to work on. So the more meets you have, especially at that level, I think the better it's going to be for our athletes going forward.
Are there plans to get him probably competing overseas, probably through the college system? What are the plans for Ian apart from looking forward to World Juniors? What are some of the plans going forward?
Yeah, well, there are some of the schools in the States that have showed interest in him, and we are trying to see, which option is actually best for him and suitable for him, where he can blossom and develop into what we know he can develop into. So we are currently in that phase. I don't want to talk too much about it, But so yeah, we're currently in that space where we're trying to figure out, which of the schools might be most suitable for him and so on. So hopefully that works out for this year, and we wouldn't have to go into January or next August. Because academically, he's there. He's safe academically. He can manage very well. That's not a problem. So it's just finding the right system and the right structure for him.
Earlier, the Jamaica comparison came up, and is it structure depth or culture that gives Jamaica that edge, you would say, over the other countries? Being among the coaching staff for the Carifta Games this year, you would have seen the athletes compete, their training, preparation, etc. Do you think it's the structure depth or the culture of Jamaica that gives them that edge?
I think both has a major part to play in their success. For example, a conversation I've had with that said from Jamaica, the athletes, they train like twice a day. So they're in school, they train morning and evening. We're not at the stage where we can get that done here. And that we're talking secondary school. That's a similar structure to what I've seen in Cuba, where they will train twice a day and they will do their studies in and between. So these are things that would and that's why I say we are behind. It's not a matter of the coaches are not good and we're not doing enough. We're getting there, but we're still behind. Because if somebody's training twice a day, it's kind of hard for us to catch up.
So can Grenada realistically replicate any part of that system? I mean, from what you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that would take some time to implement and to change, but it can be done little by little. It can be done, but it will take some time, because I believe St. Lucia right now has a system something similar to that. There is a sports school or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's a similar structure in St. Lucia. So I think it's something maybe we can look at. Try, because clearly it's reaping the benefits.
We need for our country to make sporting activity exciting and fun-worthy, more encouraging, and clubs need a subvention either from government or the G2As. And Kyron, apart from the respective club training, is there a supported national elite training program for athletics? Do we separate the great from the good? For example, an athlete like Ian and his coach should be part of that supported elite program. I don't know if Gary's in a position to answer that, but I don't think we have that program here.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, but it's an idea, right? That probably, yeah, it's an idea. what's one practical step you think we can implement immediately in terms of the development of our athletes? There may be a lot. You can name one, or you can name a few that probably comes to mind that you think we can implement immediately to ensure the development of our athletes.
A few years ago, there was a program that the GA had. I don't know what happened to that program, but this is one of the first things that I would suggest that we look into. There was a talent ID program where they would go around each parish and they would identify, have all the schools send their kids out, and they would identify different kids in different areas, the drums, the throws, huddle, and so on and so forth. They would record their names and so on, and these athletes were supposed to be in formal training afterwards, but nothing happened since that. So this is something that I would suggest that we look into, and we actually start back. Once you ID those kids, then we don't just take the names and sit on it. We have them in if it's, as Kyron said, a training camp. If it's once every month, if it's twice a month, we have all those kids get together, and all the top coaches from the island could come and give their expertise. I think this is one of the ways that we can see progress in the sport going forward. That's just my idea.
Yeah, Rudian?
Certainly, certainly sounds like a great idea. But talking about exceptional, this is something different. If we're looking at Jamaica system, they would never do that. Never. It's something they would never do. So I'm certainly, I think one of the areas that you talked about the training process is, recently speaking to a Jamaica coach from one of the schools, and they just have a morning session and an after school program. So before school and then after school, right? So that just the two training sessions that they can do, but it also goes to the distance of where some kids live. So a lot of that too do take away from the things that you might want to do that can cause the issue, because they come for a practice, they gotta wake up early, get back home, get ready, get back, to go to school. So it's a lot, but certainly, you mentioned concerning.
Stick up in there. They actually stay at the school.
And sometimes they stay at the school, right? Because some of them,
at the school. Yeah.
Always at the school, right? So once they leave in the morning, they leave in the morning, and they get to the track and they stay there, right? For facilities do matters, and they do help, because it's not all schools that have a track. And sometimes the closest to where the track located to where the school is can be a distance. That also have a disadvantage as well. For Grenada, with some of the schools. Mentioned competition with Ian. Now, what are you looking for? More meets? Would you like more meets or more quality meets for him? Now, I know the athletes in Grenada do need more meets. I think they need more meets, period. I think they don't have enough meets. But when it comes to an athlete like Ian, and there's some others, is more quality meets that more important than just having another meet.
Yes, so I quite agree. It's more quality meet, because we have quite a few developmental meets from October, normally October, November, December. So kudos to the GAA for organizing those developmental meets, because that wasn't the case before. So we have those meets. We're talking quality meets. So that's what I was referring to. More quality meets, so the athletes can get used to competing at that level.
And then sort of what is the challenge for that to happen for him, in terms of even going abroad to get the quality meet? What is that challenge for that to happen for an athlete like him?
One of the major challenges is funding. Because that's the major challenge right now. It's funding.
And in terms of visas and all this stuff for them, like, is that a challenge? Is that an issue?
Well, that is something that we definitely have to work on now. I don't think he has his US visa and stuff, but that's something that we definitely have to work on now, since that he's qualified for the World Juniors, which would be in the US.
Man.
So yeah, this is all this stuff is things that we have to look at going forward. Uh, so yeah, these are things that we have in the pipeline.
Coach, Ian is at 10.3 as it is now.
Yeah.
Do you believe Ian can run faster? And how much more potential do you think he still has?
Well, I honestly believe that this time he's running now is what he should be running last year. What he should have been running last year. 10-3, 10-4. There was some he was through training with us last year and there was a few hiccups, during the course of that year. He missed out on many weeks and so on and so forth. So I believe that this time is what he should be running. He should have been running last season. And this year he should be in the 10-1, maybe 10-0 range. I personally believe that. So yeah, I think he can go faster. And looking at the posture of Ian, looking at the race, I think there is a lot to clean up still. There's some stuff to clean up. So yeah, there is I'm not saying that this year we can guarantee it, but he should go faster for World Juniors. He
Is
should
is
go
it
faster for World Juniors.
is it more about technical refinement or physical development at this stage?
Both, because there are some issues with the technicals as it stands now. Um, there are some areas that we have to work on. I don't want to go into depth too much, but it's both right now.
How important is the role of parents in your program?
Oh, very important, very very important. I remember a couple of years ago, I there was this athlete that I saw the potential in, and I was on her to come train, let's come train. And the issue was, boy, the parents, the parent at that point in time did not see the need for it. She did not see, you know, her athlete actually being successful in that area, and that kind of, influence the child to just say, hey, my mom will see it. So basically, yeah, let's just call it quits. So we need parents to be humble. We need parents to believe. We need parents to, you know, push those children, give them that support at home as well. Because sometimes, I remember it from when Kieran used to be training as well. Sometimes, yeah, mommy would, "Oh, you have to wash your well, you have to, when I come back from training," and that's not a problem. You have to kind of understand that, hey, those kids, if they're after something and they really want it, sometimes we have to bend a little bit, make ourselves flexible to incorporate them. Even me sometimes I do wash it when I don't want to because he had to go to train. You know. So yeah, as a family on a whole, you need a good support structure from home. You need that. You need that. That's something we need, and that's something I think that we lack here in Grenada as well. That good support system from home. In some cases we have it, but not all the time. And we need that. We need that.
Ian tends to be a very emotional guy. Missing out on the medal, and you had to play the role of almost like a mentor because he took it very emotional. And I think you knew that. That's why you got down to the finish line
Yeah.
because once he
Yeah.
doesn't get a medal, he started to sob, and you
Yeah.
had to cheer
Yeah.
him up. Is it that same in terms of his emotions when it comes to that? I mean, yes, he celebrated with the athletes, but then after looking
Yeah.
at the replay and then seeing that, hey, he just missed out on at least a medal, he became very emotional. You spoke to him, and then he went and celebrated with the fans.
Ian Ian has a drive that is something that I've never really seen from an athlete before. Ian really wanted to win a medal for this country, for Grenada. He really wanted to win a medal for Grenada, and that was all he was speaking about even before, and even after, even when we were walking there, coach, I really wanted to win a medal. I really wanted to win a medal. I said, I understand. I understand, but there are greater things in store. So he really wanted to win. And our relationship, people might look at it and see it, as something special. It is because he knew who know. Um, Ian was down. He was already down. He was what you might consider rock bottom. So there, as I always tell him, you was there already. So there is no going back there. It's only up from here. And it's been a challenge. It taught me to be patient as a coach, to be more patient as a coach, and it helped me to grow as well. So it's a bond that we share that is just special. My sister would normally say, "You and your son follow take him. You and your son again. You and your son again." But that's the
Yeah,
relationship that we kind of have. He trusts me, and he have done nothing but work hard, and he deserves everything that he's getting right now. The success that he's reaping right now, he deserves every bit of it. He man, I love his work ethic, and even now the way he would coach. I see that little have, and he have talent, and coach don't give up on him. Coach don't give up on him, and I'm like, okay, all right. So that's
yeah.
that's kind of where we at now. You know. So it's
Almost
it's
as
it's it's amazing to see his growth over the years, and I just hope he continue to stay on that path.
yeah, almost a sort of father-son relationship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Paula is asking, I'm curious to find out, or maybe I missed it, but why didn't the boys who ran the under 20 4x1 really not compete in the 1 or the 200 races? Well, Ian competed in the 4x1 and he was in both the 1 and the 2, right?
one and the two. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Um, yeah. Neon also ran the 100 but he didn't qualify, and
Qualified, yeah.
neither Ian or Daryl qualified for the 200 hit final because I think in one of the hits there was a win within a 5.4 or something like that, and everybody in that hit ran fast.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody in
It
that
was,
hit ran fast. So
yeah. It
yeah,
was a,
for
it's a
Daryl, I felt it for Daryl because around 20.2007 and you can't make a final. It's unheard of.
yeah,
You know?
that was, but coach, on a serious note regarding the character game, this was very competitive.
It
And
was.
despite, yeah,
It was.
for example, let's look at the decathlon. Our guy, Duran Clement, was injured, and you could understand too coming out of winning at Boys and Girls Champs in
Yeah.
Jamaica just a week
Yeah.
before, and then having to do that. Normally the athletes get a little time, but in that decathlon, 9 of the 10 events were record-breaking events.
Yeah.
Nine
Yeah.
of the 10. The only event that wasn't a record-breaking event was the last event, which was the 1,500 meters, which
Yeah. Yeah.
understandably, probably those guys were tired. But the
Of course they
first,
were. Yeah.
the first three athletes, the medalists themselves, were ahead of the previous mark of
Yeah.
60, 65, 22 points. Right.
Yeah.
So they broke that. So I'm just using that as an example of the competitiveness of
Yeah.
that. We a group of journalists, including myself, it was three of us in particular. We sat down to decide on the Austin Seeley Award, and it came down to Shatoya from Douglas from Jamaica,
Yeah.
simply
Yeah.
because of our record-breaking performance.
In the
But
200, right?
if it wasn't for that record-breaking performance, she would have had some competition from others. They had
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
double medalists.
Yeah.
Fenton, for example, of
Fenton from Antigua, yeah. She
Antigua,
stood out. She stood out there.
right, stood out as well. So Douglas got the edge because of that record-breaking performance in that 200 meters, breaking that record of Shawnee Miller, right?
Shauna
Back
Miller,
then,
yeah.
right, back then. And Shawnee at that time was like
Oh
a
yeah.
Usain Bolt, was like a
Oh
Kirani
yeah.
James.
Oh yeah.
So breaking
Oh
that
yeah.
record, phenomenal. So
Oh yeah.
So that's why I'm saying that looking at the competitiveness of the Carifta Games, and as a coach, would you agree that it was a very competitive meet 2026?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I made mention to that before with the times that is getting bronze medal now was what was winning before. So I think the level in the region has risen, and um, it was extremely competitive, and I expect the other games going forward to be just as competitive or even more competitive because now I think people are motivated. Everybody right now is motivated. There are some islands that was winning medal for the first time, so
Yeah.
now I guess they are motivated as well. So um, I think the games going forward are going to be even more competitive.
Yeah, I think it was noted that when you see medals from Haiti and others that
Yeah,
normally don't really
yep.
feature in, and then Guyana was a surprise.
Guyana was yeah,
Yeah,
Guyana
Guyana
did
was a
extremely well.
surprise of that. And by the way, folks, we had so many. If you don't know, but I know because I came across quite a few of them. We had a lot of coaches from colleges in the U.S. who were actually in Grenada. And some of those coaches I actually came across when I was leaving because they were in the line, the security line with me. And I was like, hey, I didn't know you were here. Yes, we were there. We were sitting, like the coach from Clemson, he was there. The
Yeah,
LSU coach, there was St. John's University, quite a few of them. Even one of the Golden Girls, apart from Pauline Davis, there was another of the Golden Girls who was there from by the way, they were there coaching the athletes as well, because some of them had
yeah.
athletes from their colleges who were there.
Right.
In fact, the two medalists from Guyana in the 800 meters, I think, one attend LSU, the other was Georgia, so their coaches were
Yeah,
actually in Grenada. So when athletes get to perform, and sometimes they don't only look at the medalists, they look at athletes themselves. They look
athletes.
at,
Yeah,
yeah, their competitiveness, the way they have been competing, at the end of the meet. And again, one of the things we didn't see, Rudy, and like we saw in Intercall, the showboating, right? Because there were a few, but athletes enjoyed themselves. They
yeah,
competed to the end, and then they went on and enjoyed because they know they on world stage.
yeah,
Meet
yeah,
it's streaming on Flow Track internationally, World Athletics. There are coaches who are looking at that, so they want it to be the best and then celebrate. you know.
It's
oh yeah,
Um,
also it's also
yeah,
representing, right? It's
yeah.
having fun
And
for your school is different than when you represent the country. So
country,
it's more
right?
of the
yeah,
reputation
Yeah,
of the country. Yeah.
that's true.
yeah.
Carly Glean Jr. is saying, Coach Gary, go off and Grenada, thank God for you and your family. Well, Carly Glean Jr. is also involved in chess at the highest level. So congratulations to you as well. And as they say, go off to the world. I wish Intercall was next week. All right, Theo. Wish Intercall was next week again. I want more. It was a movie. I had mad fun, and Carifta was mad. Yes. Yeah, it was exciting. I think Carifta, Intercall, sorry, gave that sort of momentum for
To
the
Carifta.
to Carifta. And
Yeah,
coach,
I
while you were at
I
it,
agree. I agree.
can you explain to because I think a lot of folks look at the medals, right? And they do the comparison to the medals. Yes, Grenada had what 11 medals, but as a coach, sometimes you folks try to look at the performances of the athletes. Who
Oh
would
yeah,
have improved the personal times, personal distances, these sort of
yeah,
things. Talk to us the importance of these things.
yeah. Well, this is something that I will always stress on to my athletes, and looking at the character games, for example, quite a few of the athletes they perform and they didn't get medal or they didn't make it into a final, but they did their best times. And these are things that we have to look at. This is part of development. Each time you run, you try to lower your time. You try to have a longer jump, you jump a higher height. for that show, whatever the case may be. So this is part of development. When you also look at the character team, I think we're 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 looking good for the years to come because we had young athletes who were basically at the under 15 level who were competing at the under 17 level. So these athletes have 2 years, even so in some cases they have 3 more years to compete. Additional Ivan, Eritreal and those guys. They are there, you know. So these are the things that we see, and these are the things that we have to keep pushing. It's not about you might not always win the medal, but as long as you keep lowering the times, then you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there eventually.
I'm glad you made that point because that's one of the things I had written down there to talk about. Grenada had one of the youngest teams at the
Yeah,
character games. I think Dominica
yeah,
had it wasn't as large as Grenada, but when you look at the Grenada, most of the athletes for Grenada, they were in the under 17 category, and most of them in the under 17 was basically quote unquote on
under
underage.
50.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the under 15.
yeah.
They were 13-year
Or are
olds
they
and
are they
on
first
down.
year or the first year in the
First year
category?
in the category.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
they can keep and focus and continue
yeah.
training, it augurs well for Grenada going
Oh
forward.
yeah, oh yeah, oh
Hopefully
yeah,
these athletes don't fall through, but definitely. Um, the
you,
whole
yeah.
aspect of this thing being discipline and cooperation, respect and good communication. Um, Kudos to you, Gary from Cami George. Theo, Mr. Bascom, it's nice seeing you too, Theo. It was nice catching up with you as well. Um, let's see if we have some more. All right. To get to the 10.1 second range, speed, maintenance, and technique key. The 100 meters is a race of who can, you know, decelerate the slowest.
Decelerate this look. Yeah,
Yeah, decelerate the slowest. Yeah. Ian definitely has the potential. Congrats to Coach James and crew. Yeah, I think I saw that from Ian in terms of that.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good point he made there. I think a good
Yeah, we
observation.
spoke we spoke about it, the speed endurance aspect of it, and that is something that we definitely need. So yeah, Shumai, kudos to you as well, man.
Mhm. Um,
Shumai is also one of the coaches that works with Momentum Track Club in Victoria as
Momentum.
well. So
Right. Okay, that's
yeah,
good. Daniel Matthews, I would love to see Troy Mason, Ian George, Nazio John, and Ethan Sam on a relay. How can you guys make that happen? That could be some trouble, boy. It could, but I mean that's a bomb team, boy. um, Coach, we have what it takes. We have talked about that, for example, the 4x4 for years now with the Kiran,
for
the
years,
Emmanuel,
yeah, for
and
years.
those guys. Is it a possibility for the 4x1 that we hope we don't make the mistakes of the 4x4? That possibly a good 4x1 team? We have the talent.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys right now who are in that range, and from the 4x4 relays, you don't need the fastest athlete, the fastest 400-meter athlete, because if you look at that same event over the years, you would see teams like Belgium and so on who they never have nobody in the finals, but yet for all they have good 4x4 teams. So you don't necessarily need to have the fastest person in the event. It's just getting the batter across the track as quickly as possible in 4x1. And so chemistry is part of it. Yeah, you need fast guys, but I think once we practice together, then the possibility of us having a team at that level is great right now because we have a lot of guys running fast right now. We have a lot of people running fast right now and who are capable of running fast.
Mhm.
So that's something I think we shouldn't let slip from our fingers at all. Not like before we're 40.
Let me give you an example. Canada don't have the fastest guys, but they have one
Exactly.
of the best 4x1 relay team, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Canada is an example. They don't, I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes, as a matter of fact, Jamaica with some of the best sprinters sometimes don't even make the finals of
They
the 4
struggle.
by
They
one.
struggle. Yeah,
They
they
struggle,
struggle. They
they
struggle.
may
Yeah.
they may make it, but probably they have to wait to see all of that. So it's an important point, it's just the synergy, training,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think as the person put there, I believe we have what it takes that we can compete in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Definitely.
and we don't fall into that bracket there of what we saw happen in the 4x4 when probably every year after year the commentators will be saying, "Where
Yeah.
is Grenada?" you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
where is Grenada? We have some of the best quarter milers, and we just not we didn't make my input on it. Paula says, Michael, we cannot overlook your input in sports. Thank you for all your efforts, and thank you, coach, from all the comments. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you, Paula. Nice meeting you as well, Paula. Um,
Thank you very much.
Grenada full of talent, and I see Grenada good in the future. Coach, as the conversation is coming so nicely that, I try to find time to wrap up, but there's more and more that's coming. What advice would you give to schools trying to build a similar success as what you did in Grove St. John's? And by the way, I think we forget to basically say at the start that once upon a time, Grove had some of the best track and field athletes in Grenada. Some of the top sprinters, Leon, the coach
Yeah.
of Leon is probably somewhere watching, But the
Yeah.
moment
Yeah.
time I sent out that coach Gary James will be there, Leon say I locked in already, But
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
go
He has
back to
been
that,
behind us. Yeah.
yeah, Leon is one who has been a top sprinter, as you know. And then you had some of the, long distance, middle and long distance runners from, Grove back then. I mean, we can even look at,
Yeah.
even before Kirani, we can look at Donald Pierre, for example,
Donald
and
Pierre.
things
Yeah.
like that. So Grove St. John has a record of producing top class athletes over the years, even without top class facilities,
Yep.
But
Yep.
what advice would you give to schools trying to build a similar success as you have done with Top Flight and St. John's Christian Secondary School?
The whole thing about having a successful plan like that is to have everybody on the same page and to have everybody on board. If it's not a collaborative effort, then it's gonna be extra difficult. So the principals have to be on board. For example, I'm in Shaper School, but the principal from St. Joe's, we have absolutely no problem. When I go to her, I can speak to her about this, that, XYZ, and we have no problem. So we have that relationship because we're trying to build community as well. Yes, your school, because I don't know if you remember the 4x4 team last year. That was St. Joe's. I think they came, I had a sort of 14 intercall. It was a good, solid 4x4 team. They were all training under Top Flight Athletics Club, but they were Centrals. So I'm in shape and they're Centrals. But yet for we had that collaboration and it was successful. So you need everybody on board. You need everybody to play their part. You need everybody to know exactly what it is, what the objectives are, and that's how it's gonna be successful. It's a collaborative effort. Without that, it's spinning top in mud.
Yeah. Um, Gerald says, success breeds success. Continue working, Coach Gary. Nutrition remains one of the areas that we are lagging behind with. I think you did mention that as one of the
Yeah.
issues regarding, facilities, equipment, nutrition, all of those things.
Yeah.
Um, Lincoln Toro Deputy is saying Canada is a good example, but some think we might offer CBI to Ian George and others like young Moses of the University of the GVSS. Yes, I know. You want to take him, right? Yeah, once he offers CBI, it means that he wants to take him to Canada, right? Okay, Elizabeth Duncan, I miss when will be Whitsuntide will be the Whitsuntide weekend. It will be next month, I think the 20 something of May is the Whitsuntide. Yeah, the Whitsuntide weekend. So you can catch it. I know that they are still deciding whether it will be 1 day or 2 days of competition. Yeah. They're looking at 2 days, but it all depends on the sponsorship. But as it is now, we have the Classic Lighting Invitational, which is over 2 days coming up. Will involve clubs and, from what I heard from Mr. Bido, it should be interesting because you have, there are a lot of the business places and the police and, all of the, and then, so I think if it's structured properly, it should have good competition for the clubs itself, right?
Yeah,
Not so much
definitely.
schools, but more clubs, and that should
Well,
be very good, I think. And then we have the width and that. But Coach James, apart from that, we have asked the other coaches who have been on our programs before, do you think we need more local meets for our athletes in Grenada?
yes, I believe so. I believe so. Moment is always going to be better for the athletes. As I said earlier, there are meets that you can use to work on different things, to gauge different things. So the moment you have, I think the sharper your art is going to be, the sharper your art is going to get, and they're going to get used to competing at that level. They're going to get used to competing at a high level, and more is always merrier. And when it comes to track meets, more is merrier. So
Yeah.
yes, I agree. Moments is necessarily is necessary for the development right now in track and field. Sorry.
Okay. As we get ready to wrap up, Rudian.
No, certainly, coach. Continue, with the hard work that you're doing, the success of you and your athlete and your team. Um, and I just had to say that Miss Phillip is a product of McDonald College. So I just had to put that out there. Um, so I have to say that now, before you guys start keeping up for yourself. She is a product of us. Um, um, but certainly, what I really would like to see and to hear from coaches is not thinking of other countries. We are capable now. The coaches are capable now. Stop, like, listen, the coaches in Jamaica, the school coaches have one focus. It's not character games and it's champs.
Stamps, yeah.
That's all their job.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You see, and as coaches in Grenada, we think for both. You think the success of the kids making a character team as well as intercall. So there is a difference, right? Certainly. So we are great and we have great athletes. And we're not trying to build another Kirani or another Linden or another, Anderson. We're building another great one. And that's what I think we would like to see that way. We don't only have to focus on the 400 only. There is other events as well that we could focus on. So certainly we are on the right path for success. And like I say it again, I think the athletes is being grown in the proper way, in the proper timing, and they will be successful. Ian George is in the right position because he's hungry for success. And once you're hungry for success, everything will work in place. And he's working with his coach, and he trusts his coach. He trusts what you are doing with him. He will be successful. You just need to get the right competition. And once you get that, you will see him running the 10-2 and the 10-0 that you know that he can do. That's just all it takes. But you are doing the right thing with him. Just continue the hard work and with your team. And good luck to you in the future.
Yes, Coach.
All right.
Anything
Thank you
else?
very much. I appreciate.
Anything else you want to add
I
before you
appreciate it.
leave us?
Yeah. I just want to clarify that I didn't necessarily mean, or if you understood that from my earlier comment, that we are not good enough. I am, as a competitor, I honestly believe that we are good enough. I know that we are good enough. So that's not what I was saying at all. It's that we have some work to do to get to that level where we're superior as well. So that is kind of the point I was making. We are good enough. Of course, we are good enough. Talent is never in the question. We are good enough, but we have some work to do, and I hope that we put in that work and get there.
Yeah. Well, Coach James, thank you for joining us and for the work you are doing in developing young athletes, particularly in the parish of St. John, because your club, through top flight athletics rather, they have athletes from various schools, especially on the west side. So keep up the excellent work, and Grenada is watching, and certainly
Yeah,
we're looking forward to bigger and greater things in the future from you and
yeah,
from your charges.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, Mike. I can say now that I've made it. I've made it.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
on
yes.
top.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, it has been a while, and
It's been a
you
while.
did promise. Yeah, you did promise you will be there, and you took your time, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thank you. It's right timing,
yeah.
though. Right timing. Thank you very much,
It's
Coach.
right timing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you
And
very
parents send your kids out top flight athletics,
much.
so into
Yeah.
higher heights.
Right, and don't forget, Coach, as soon as you get those things organized, because Haran has the checkbook, and we have to get that to her
Yeah,
too. And
definitely,
for
definitely.
those who are, especially in the diaspora, and if you want to, make any sort of contribution, you heard what he outlined, some of the assistance that you need. If there's any way you can assist, please reach out, because it's for the development of the athletes. I always say I have a connection to St. John, because my wife is from St. John, so I have that sort of connection. In fact, I have a
There you
connection.
go. There you go.
Yeah, I have a connection to all over Grenada except St. Mark's. Whether it's Caracou, St. David, St. John, St. Andrews, St. Patrick's, just name it. I have a connection there. I have family rooted originally from, St. David one side, from St. Patrick and St. Andrews the other side. No, my wife is from St. John. So I have that sort of connection. Um, I recall the last day of Carifta, when we were leaving the stadium, and my wife saw Kirani, and he came around to hug, and someone was saying another picture again. And Kirani was saying, "Hey, we all from Guelph." He was letting the person
Yeah,
know, this is Guelph people, yeah, yeah.
exactly,
But
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, but thank you very much, Coach Gary. And we talk a lot about track and field there. In any way, you still do some little hoops and thing. I'm certain Gerard, Sincere, and Kyron, who they on with, probably will want to know if you're still doing some hoops, man.
I'm retired. I'm retired right now, Mike. I normally I would just play in the local tournaments in St. John's, and that's about it. But I'm still unstoppable though.
Oh,
Those guys
okay.
still can, yeah.
Also,
But
you
I'm
still
retired.
do,
I'm
as they
officially
say,
retired.
you still do a little sweat, as they'll say, right?
No, it's more or less teaching. It's more or less grooming the younger players, teaching them what
Right.
I know. I don't want to just, you know.
Mhm.
So I teach when I play. That's how it is. So
Um, and just before
I'm retired.
the main training area in Guelph is the Cuthbert Peters Park, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I know there was some work being done in terms of the field itself. It's still a 300-meter track, right?
No, it's a 400-meter track.
It's
It's a
now a
400.
400-meter track. That is good,
Yeah,
because
it's a
I know
400-meter track now. Yeah,
initially, and they did some work. They had to raise the field and
yeah.
all of that. Um,
Hmm.
at some stage, as how we have been clamoring, Rudian, for artificial track for St. Andrews, you believe that at some
It's
stage
time.
there will be one for, or there should be one for Guelph? I think we have a slight delay, but the question is, Coach Gary, do you think
Yeah.
at some point in time that we should have a synthetic artificial track for Cuthbert Peters Park?
I think it's only right. It's only right. It's only fitting. We have the first Olympic gold medalist come from that same field. I think it's only fitting.
Yeah, that's true.
So true.
Yeah, and some of our best quarter milers also, because even
Yeah.
as we said, we had Donald Pierre, and then we had Kirani and all of that. Well, hopefully, lots of work for Rudian and his government to do in terms of ensuring, ensuring that is fulfilled, because they already said that there's one scheduled for Progress Park, so
Progress back. Yeah.
Goff could probably get one. Thank you very much again, Coach James.
You're welcome, Mike. Thank you
Yeah.
again.
All right, then. Thank
It
you
was
very
a
much.
pleasure, man.
Yeah. So that's Coach Gary James. Certainly pleasure having him, Rudy. And as he says, quite a lot we discussed, and certainly, refreshing to hear from the coach about okay. So I didn't know that, Theo. Coach Gary is absolutely right. We got more work to do given talent we have on the island in various sporting disciplines. Yes. Rudy, keep hope alive for McDonald College. You see how GBSS gives Stars a blind this year and allow them to win. GBSS could do the same for McDonald College next year. Nice one, Rudy. No more next. We are creating another great one. We are creating next stars in their own way. Yeah, and we had various things. So Theo is saying her grandfather is from the lands in Grove, and Gary used to give us real problems on the court, but then figured him out and gave him his own medicine, right? We need Mr. Bascom here in the Ministry of Sports. Theo, that's a tough one, girl.
That's a tough one. We good.
Yeah, that's a tough
one. We good where we at. We good where we at.
I don't like that sort of that ministry type kind of thing. My thing is getting things done, and I think sometimes
getting things done.
When people transition to ministry and these sort of things, I don't know, they get absorbed into this, ministry type thing,
mindset,
and not going out there and making the difference. And my thing is about making the difference, right? I always say, within a week, 2 weeks of whatever I'm doing, right, there must be a difference. You have to see the difference, right? People must feel the difference in something. I don't like this thing about, weeks and months and, just the talking and things like that. So
we'll see and those type of things.
Yeah,
I like one word. Is either yes you can do it or no you can't, and that's just how it is. Yeah.
And a lot of things, I was speaking to someone this week, and they were saying that something that they have to get done in Grenada, and it's paperwork, right? And they told them that it will be ready in 6 weeks. Rudy, and come on. 6 weeks to do paperwork in Grenada?
It's a joke. It's a joke.
No. In this day and age, 6 weeks to do. And here the paperwork involves signing. So getting something signed from one office to the other, and you're telling me 6 weeks that will take. If you tell me 6 days, I was still kind of, but 6 weeks is a no.
6 weeks.
Rudian, before we wrap up now, some pointers. A lot we have been talking about the National Sports Council, right? Yeah, and I was sort of disappointed to learn that folks believe that we have been bashing. There are folks who believe we have been bashing the National Sports Council. And I want to make it clear that I have been one who, and I went back and got some things from the archives back in 2009 and things like that. So where I was talking about, in fact, I wrote a guest commentary for the Carib Journal back in 2009, calling for a National Sports Council, writing on behalf of Grenada for a national. Well, yeah, I was advocating for that. I was one who left New York and went back to Grenada and assisted in the town hall they had going around the country, talking about the National Sports Council, the importance of the National Sports Council. So I don't know why I'll throw cold water on it, but if one thing I know, I may be critical of the lack of.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, and not so much so I see the importance of the National Sports Council.
Mm-hmm.
I see the importance.
The
value of the parish sports councils as well.
Yeah.
What I'm not tolerating is the lack of
action.
Yes, and when we had the 2 years ago, almost 4 years ago, 2022, when they were doing the reconsultation of the National Sports Council, we were talking about some. You remember we were talking about the low hanging fruits.
The low-hanging fruits.
There are a lot of low hanging fruits that I believe that
Yeah.
can be done through the parish sports councils, and you don't need money. You don't need finance for some of those things. A lot of them have to do with initiatives and these sort of things. And if the people are seeing that their initiatives in taken, they'll be willing to assist. They'll be willing to be part of. Sponsors, etc., will be willing to. So we cannot continue making excuses. We need to start get going on some of these things. For example, we are saying that, for example, football, cricket, basketball, swimming, inter-parish sports, for example, we talk a lot about that. What about inter-parish sports meet? There's no reason why. If the community of Mount Horn can have an annual sports meet for the past, 15 or more years, why we can't start having this inter-parish? And sometimes, you can, St. Patrick Parish Sports Council can, for example, say, hey, St. Patrick, we want to come up against St. Andrew. It can be a football, it can be cricket, it can be track and field. We just have a meet, an invitational meet.
Yeah.
St. Patrick versus, and you might start it that way, and then in the process,
It grows.
St. Mark might say, let's why not? We want to be part of it, and right away there you have probably a national inter-parish thing. But you had to have initiative, Rudy, and is what we call it on.
Yeah.
And I'm making an appeal to the members of the various parish sports councils. Start using your initiative. You were elected there to make a difference. And it's not all about we need assistance, we need funding, we need this. Initiative. What are your plans?
Yeah.
What are your plans? What plans are you proposing to your body in terms of that? We're there,
Yep.
So I'm saying it's not so much being critical, but trying to light some fire under your feet, because you have been in existence for more than a year now, and except for throwing up a few social media posts and things like that, so we are not seeing anything concrete. And there are lots of things that can be done from the parish sports council level. Lots of initiatives.
Yeah.
And I just use the example of probably St. Patrick asking St. Andrew for a clash. When I say a clash, sorry, I don't want to use clash, but some competitive thing, probably in a cricket, or it could be football, or it could be some other sport, or it could be 2 or 3, sporting disciplines. These sort of things over a period of 2 weekends. When you come up with these sort of initiatives, then sponsors will probably come in. You can't just sit and hope that sponsors will pour money into you, and then you'll say, okay, I'll use that money to do this and do that. Come up with ideas, present them, and probably you will get sponsors. So I'm making that appeal.
And I'm adding on what you say. It doesn't even have to do within the parishes. It just be within your own parish, your own village.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It can be village. It can start off village.
Yeah, it can start
small.
Off within the parish.
Within the village. Within the parish. And then expand.
So our thing is that come 2027, you should have to be at a level where you can have inter-parish sport meets. But for now, as we said, St. Patrick's Sports Councils can decide that we want to have something within the parish, and we invite in, and I'm saying that, Rudy, in the context of a lack of clubs in the parish, right? So you can use the communities, the villages, and at the same time, it's also a challenge for the St. Patrick's Sports Council to see how they can probably initiate the formation of a club. And that's what I'm saying in terms of coming up with initiatives. There are lots that can be done. You don't need money to come up with an initiative to encourage people to come together, right?
And
Yeah,
I think that is certainly one of the reasons. And when you think that we are bashing you, we are not bashing you. If we don't see anything, it doesn't matter which part of the government it is. If we don't see nothing happening, we'll speak about it. It's not something criticism could be a good thing. It's not always have to be a negative thing, right? So that's really what it is. So
yeah,
when we
yeah.
speak about this, which we are speaking about, and especially the sports council, because I've seen it, man, I seen it as the future of sports
Ah,
in Grenada.
yeah.
I've seen this as the future of sports in
Well,
Grenada. So when I came and I said, when I say I'm disappointed in not seeing anything, because I've seen something great from it. So if I don't
well,
see nothing,
I
I
think
think I have the right
I
to
think
say
is
something,
I think
to
is
say something.
I think I took blows for your comment, because I think you were the person who said that. I was one who not so critical, but supportive, and but at the same time, while you express disappointment, you were expressing the importance and the value of
For the
the
value.
parish sports councils, which is different.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
sometimes mix up these things. You were
They take
critical
it
in terms
for the
of not,
wrong thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
for not seeing that, but
yeah.
at the same time, you think and you express the support for the parish sports council. And I believe that the parish sports council, it's time that the parish sports council get cracking on activities, get cracking on initiatives, come up with, as you said, the communities, the villages. We have all
Communities.
these lighted
Yeah.
playing fields, for example,
And
right?
they're so, and what
Yeah,
gets me now, they are so happy,
yeah,
and so elated to talk about those lighting of the fields, but what is taking place on those fields?
yeah, right. So why not organize at the community levels
Yeah.
activities? It can be a small one for this month, and then probably by next month, based on the support and thing like that. So it can grow larger, and it does
It
not
can grow.
necessarily have to
Yeah.
be one sporting discipline, right? It can
It
be
can be
other
different
sporting
things. Yeah.
disciplines. It can be football, it
Yeah.
can be basketball, cricket, whatever.
Netball.
Yeah, netball,
Yeah.
volleyball, just name it.
Yeah.
But what is important is the initiative, right?
The initiative.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Mr. B, did the GAA have a sports psychologist at Carifta? I asked as I wondered about the individuals who had the false starts in final events. I'm not certain about the psychologist, but I'm not sure whether, with the false start, that is part of the, you know, part of it.
Other
I think the
sport.
coach, yeah,
Yeah.
the coaches and them can
Part
deal
of
with the
sport. Yeah.
athletes when it comes to the false start. It's a false
Yeah.
start
It's part of the
system, and
sport. Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
to get, and that's why I'm saying that through at the intercall, I was concerned, but I spoke to the meet director who said yes, they were planning to use the um, the recall system,
The
right?
recall system.
Yeah, but because of the weather at the time, and they did not have the structure in place to ensure that it does not be affected, because they brought it out, but they didn't use it. But they ensured that for the Curfew games, despite the weather, it can be used. So they learned from that lesson. And I think that's what our athletes have to get accustomed to, the recall system.
Recall
Because
system.
yes, the recall system is important, because when you compete in other regional international meets, that's what they use. You have
Yeah.
to get accustomed,
I think
right?
they're accustomed to
Have
it.
to, yes, the recall system. And by the way, um, I I don't like to beat my chest, but back in 2016, I was instrumental in getting the recall system for Grenada through our Grenada Invitational. I wrote and got it through the Chinese. In fact, it came to me here in New York, and get it to Grenada. It should
To
be under the
Grenada. Yeah.
auspices of the Ministry of Sports. I hope that is the case, because that's how it was. But the recall system. By the way, the recall system, 2016 through the Grenada Invitational. It was my initiative in getting it, and then handing it over to the Ministry of Sports. I rest my case on that. I hope the authorities remember that. Yeah. So Rudian, it was a very, I would say, intense week of activities in Grenada for the Caribbean Games. I think Grenada, I must say, again, was a very good host. There was some
Yeah.
shortcomings, certainly. It was a challenge for people getting around, albeit, the major infrastructure work that is being done in Grenada at the time in terms of the roads, etc. But
Yeah.
it comes with the territory. But other than that, yeah, I thought Grenada, did well, hosted it, barring the rain, the weather. Yes, and the crowds, they came out. I thought also that the folks who I spoke to, I don't know, I can only relate to who I spoke to. Most of the folks I spoke to, they enjoyed themselves, and it was worth it coming to Grenada, enjoying themselves. We look forward to either St. Kitts and Nevis or Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
Then we have in 2028 we have Barbados, and let's see
Yeah.
what's 2029. If by then they don't put themselves in, organize themselves, you never know what may happen in 2029. As the Prime Minister rightly said, when he was asked the question, was Grenada ready to host another character game? He said, "Gosh, let me give others a chance." Yeah, it's like we can't be too greedy. Let me give others a chance, and
There's a
probably if
chance.
not.
Yeah.
But Rudy, on a serious note, when you speak to the folks who actually come to Grenada, they tell you that they look forward to Grenada. They enjoy themselves coming to Grenada, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly.
So when Grenada is announced as a host, people get crazy. I have to go. I want to go. I have to be there. This sort of thing. And folks, for example, there was one who did not stay at a hotel. He did not stay, and I say he because it's a male. Did not stay at the Airbnb. You know where he stayed? He stayed at a friend's house. And how? Because when he was here back in 2024, 2 years ago,
You make a friend. You make a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this time around, when Grenada was, they said, "Hey, you have to be with us." So he was at their house, enjoyed Grenadian cooked food. He got in the Thursday, as a matter of fact. So the Friday, he got the opportunity to tour the island. When I say tour, because he would have done it before, but to go other places, he had not. Enjoy the island, and that is the sort of things that about Grenada, right?
Yeah.
People get that opportunity to not just in the hotels, but also, and not only, in Airbnb, but they get to stay with families, and
Stay families.
they create this.
Stay with the locals.
Yeah, and they create this bond because you never know when they will host it. That Grenadian will have that opportunity to,
to go there.
There likewise, and this is what the character, and when they talk about the character family, that is what it is about.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. Toro says the character games environment and camaraderie were exceptional, certainly. Toro was part of my riding B for for the character games. Trouble all over, despite that. Observations, constructive criticism too often is taken the wrong way, partly because our listening antenna is often on the wavelength frequency of Bacchanal. Yeah. Yes, Grenada have a vibes and well nice. Yes, when it comes to that, they will tell you that they just like the vibes, the Grenadian vibes. And we don't blame them for that.
And Michael, it was so different. Like I said, I listened to Mr. Conrad, and it was so different. Hopefully, we start a culture in terms of having the village and hosting medals outside of the stadium, which is something that was never been done before. I think it was really unique to see, presenting medal on the outside in the village, so that was really nice to see. Hopefully it's a cultural thing moving forward, and I was really pleased to see that.
Anything else you saw, noticed that you were sort of impressed with?
Most of it, like I said, that was the most important one to me, that I seen. And I was impressed to see the president of all of that, and he bringing a team with him. That was really impressive to see that. Yes, for the character, but in Grenada itself, that was certainly good. And those games is certainly is eye opening. We bring on people, but definitely, we are Grenadian, and all thing is nice when it comes to Grenada. So when we put a event like this together, certainly we put it for the world to see that it's just time for us not to host the World Juniors. I think it will be good from that.
You said the World Juniors. Well, you to an extent, because when you listen to the Kwame Hippolyte, for example,
yeah,
he spoke to an extent of looking at something more. He doesn't necessarily be World Juniors, but it could be something.
Yeah, one of the other Commonwealths.
Yeah, a little more than.
NACA games or something like that, one of those NACA events. So.
Yeah, a little more than Carifta, certainly, and I think we have the capacity to do that, right? It will take a lot, but I'm trying to say at the same time, Rudy, and that I think we should start seeing, and I wrote about it, the transition, right? We need to have the transition. Where more folks can probably start coming into the fore, being a part of the process. We don't want it to be so much like if it's one set of people all the time, this sort of
all
thing.
The time.
So, and things like that.
Yeah.
A Jamaican living in the Cayman Islands exchanged numbers with me and gave me his Jamaican flag. Yeah, that's how you got that Jamaican flag, Toro. I remember that.
Trying to switch alliance, eh?
I would love, Kai Victor says, I would love to see the government invest more into track and field in Grenada. Track is on the rise in terms of times and performances. Now is the time to act. And once the children in Grenada get a little token within their sporting activity, I believe they will put more. It's a form of encouragement. Sometimes we have this thing about, but no, with the NIL, Rudian, it may be a little lax in terms of money and things like that. So because there has always been this thing about paying kids,
athletes being paid,
athletes being paid and things like that. Yeah, and
hopefully now that can change.
Right. Theo is looking forward to meeting you, Rudian.
Yes.
Yeah.
You certainly will. Intercall next year.
All right. Jita is saying the Caribbean vibes was just different, gives locals and visitors alike that sense of security and comfort while enjoying and supporting our junior athletes. I was pretty impressed with the inclusion of the Carifta village. Yes, we must say that. And thanks Jita for that comment, because I thought also the cultural aspect wasn't too bad,
No, it wasn't at all. I was impressed. I was impressed.
Dillian Walters, I want to congratulate you for that as well, because it was well managed. Everyone got a little piece. And it was timely. Down to the last act was the jab. For
the last act was
So
even the closing ceremony where you see one of the other countries had was on display as well. The Janko. They was out there. The Janko
was getting ready to go into the track, but then we had the rain, so they actually performed in the bottom floor.
On the bottom floor. Yeah. So that was really nice to see. That was really nice to see. Yeah.
The Junkanoo normally will end the show with a parade and the folks were waiting for it because, as they said, it was almost like a jam session. It was a jam session there. Clem says, mild observation, why are our young athletes not encouraged not to run in the outer lanes for long distance meets? Saw a few doing so when no restrictions were required to do so. It's yes and no. Yes, in that being told, but I also thought the folks who were around could have, who are in that area, they could have let the athletes know that they can go in,
And I think so too. And I look at that especially in the 4x4. and they always be a leading person to tell them. Everybody's in lane 1 and lane 2, so once one person get the baton, you can start sliding down. And it's one of the things they don't,
Yeah.
because by
You
the time
don't
that
have to.
50
Right.
meters,
Yeah,
they
I saw
cut
that.
across. And
I
I'm
saw
saying, like,
that.
that's,
So, for
and I said,
example,
come on, like, who is running this stuff in the bottom
yeah.
down there, right? That was
So,
just,
so
yeah,
the
it was,
athlete,
yeah,
the change off was in, let me say, from lane 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say the athlete
yeah,
in lane 2 gets the batter first, right? And he moves
yeah.
off. The person remains in lane 3, but you can
They
actually
stay in
go
in
to
the
the next.
lane. But you
You
could,
can go,
so I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know if that's coaching, but they also have to have somebody there that guiding them. I mean, at least we do it here. And I don't know at that level if they're allowed to have someone they guiding. But at least here, especially at the high school level, we guide them to slide up so that the kids wouldn't be running in our kind of outside lane, especially when you have maybe a 10-meter gap or so in between, right? So kid in lane 8 is still in lane 8, and that's you see the kid had to run across to go hand up the baton. So yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah. I thought,
it,
I
it,
thought,
it, it was, yeah,
I saw that, and
it
I
was
don't.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toro says organizationally, there are some small things we need to do. This includes the number and quality of the concession stands at the stadium and provide something for spectators sitting at the stadium during the breaks. Now, Toro, good observation. So one of those guys told me that he had those things where for hawkers, for the hawkers, you call it, where you can it's something where you put around you and you can
Oh yeah, and
actually,
you walk
for the
around.
concession stands,
Yeah,
right?
concession. Yeah,
So you can act. So folks do not have to necessarily get up from their
get up
seats
from
and
the
go.
seat. Yeah,
You can put
yeah,
things there, and you can go to the various stands, and basically people will buy things, right?
yeah.
So he says he has quite a few of them, and he approached some of the vendors to let them know that he has them, and he can rent them as cheap as $20 a day. And
And they refuse.
they refused. They didn't buy into
Yeah,
it. And I
because they don't
thought
see the
that was a
vision.
very good
Yeah,
idea. And you
they don't
probably
see
will
the
get more
vision.
sale because some people just say, hey, no, I'm not getting up,
Yeah,
man. I will wait
yeah.
until this meet finish. But if you have folks that moving through, it's something like how the guys do with the nuts and thing like that. So, right?
So yeah, they do,
You
but the
can
same thing
put,
they do in the baseball games. They do all the
yes, you
stuff
do
in
baseball,
those things. Yeah. Baseball
popcorn,
game,
and
hockey, basketball,
yeah,
and if you want something specific, they will say, "I'll be back." They go get it for you, and they come back.
you'll get it
So
for
those
you.
things
Yeah,
can be
yeah,
done. You don't have to get up from your seat. Right
yeah.
there and then, it can be done.
So things like and things like popcorn and all these sort of things where it's easy. You just take it out, you give the person these sort of things
Yeah.
like that. So these are
And,
things
and even
where
Michael, even going further than that, even the friendly part of it too. Most people slide it down. They take the money and they pass the money up. They change and it's just a community where they just passing stuff down and it can be done. It certainly can be done. But I guess they didn't see the vision in this and they missed out. They missed out on an opportunity.
yeah. Um. So Simon says in 2024, two Barbadians were hosted by a family in La Poterie, St. Andrew, and I believe Mr. Simmons that when we were in Bermuda some years ago, it may be the family that I know we visited a family when, well, the team and, and you were there as Minister of Sport. And I think, yeah, we visited a family in Bermuda who hosted us. Well, not in terms of, I think they hosted us for lunch or dinner or something like that. So, okay, it was from after the stadium. We went there. So that sort of, camaraderie that comes around for Carifta games. Same thing, for example,
Yeah.
you go to Trinidad, for example, half or three quarter of Trinidad is Grenadians, so, yeah. Halftime show, great. Well, of course, Pan was included. Yeah, I know you must observe that, Clem. Ria says, I was blown away by the cultural performance at the opening ceremony. It was
Ceremony, yeah.
exciting. Yes.
It was. It was.
We have
Yeah.
to give credit where credit is due. I
Yeah.
thought
It was.
it
It
was well
was. Yeah.
packaged. It was short. It wasn't boring.
Yeah. Right to
And
the
by the
point.
way, I love the Prime Minister's speech. It
Yeah,
was
straight to the point.
It was one
Straight to the
sentence.
point. Bam. Straight to the
One
point. Let's get
sentence.
going. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, to the point. Yeah.
Yes.
You greet who you need to greet and you go right to it.
Yeah. So Ria says, I was confused about them staying on their lane also. At Intercol and other meets, our athletes move down the line. Yeah, but somehow at the Carifta Games, they were not
They
moving.
did not. They didn't move. Yeah.
Yeah, they were not moving. And
They were not moving at all. I was
that,
shocked.
yeah, I
I
found that
was
strange
shocked.
that,
Yeah. Very strange.
and I'm wondering, can the official not, tell them to
As I
go
was
and
saying,
say,
I don't know if there's a guy who's supposed to be there to let people not to slide down.
well, and
You put
normally in
people
terms of a
because you put
relay
people. Yeah, because one, you have to put people in the position at the
position,
200 after the second round, so you know who is next in line. So they have to have somebody guiding them there to tell
yes,
them, well, you stay here, Jamaica, Trinidad, you in lane one because you lead in coming up the 200. And even if someone passes you on the straightaway, you still have to stay in your lane one
yes.
because as of the 200. So yeah,
Because normally you have
so
to stay in line based on
the position at the
the position they
yeah,
come into,
basically your
right?
position they coming in from the
Yeah,
200.
they
Yeah,
come into. So the first person
yeah,
will be the person who basically in line in terms of the handoff, the first
or the
handoff,
handoff. Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah.
sort of thing. Toro says the bars also have to stock up with Jamaican red stripe. Yeah, I promised to buy my whole Jamaican section red stripe. Unfortunately, there were no red stripe. When I told the Jamaican posse, they didn't believe me. Not around Easter, no, Mr. Man. Around
Nice,
Easter, we not giving them. But
sorry,
yeah, but
they have to drink curve.
the point of the availability. I don't. You see, when it comes, people complain about because I listened to a lady complaining on her way to the airport. She was complaining about the food, and I was letting her know that taste. When it comes to taste, that's subjective because something I like, you may not like, right?
Like
I might find there's too much salt in something. You might say, hey, that's good, that's great. That
perfect.
is my
Yeah.
taste. You might be somebody who don't like salt. So it's subjective when it comes to taste, right? My problem was availability. The availability at times, and I'm saying a lot of things that people would have gotten up for to go to the bar to get this, that, and the other were
Yeah.
things that people could have gotten with through people coming through the aisles and saying, hey, I have here popcorn, snacks, all these sort of things. And somebody
Yeah.
say, hey,
Yeah.
give me that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
say, okay, can I get a malt? And things like malt and soda
Yeah.
and things that you can have with you because they
You get
say, here I have it with me here. They say, what drink do you have? It's almost like you're on the plane and you don't get up to go to
to
tell
go anywhere.
the
Yeah.
flight
Yeah.
attendant,
Yeah.
I need the flight attendant say, hey, this is what I have.
They'll come to you. This is what I
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
Outside of that, if you need food and things like that, so you can go there to get it, right? But the
Yeah.
light stuff,
Certainly.
the snacks, some of the drinks, these sort of things that and I think people have to understand that it makes sense to do that. You get more sales because, again, I'm saying there were people who didn't move from their seat, or because they say, if I get up, that might be it because the seats were not numbered to say that this is my seat. I am sitting in 165, and which the point that Clever never they were making that we have to move to the point where you have
You have
numbers.
the tickets have numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, and here the problem, and I'm sorry to go back to that. We had a situation where folks were coming and they were basically holding seats for others. And the security will come in and say, is this seat taken? Is this seat taken? And people will just say, yes, 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 no, and yes, and and things like that. So, all because they probably don't want someone to sit next to them.
To sit next to them.
So they put their bag there, this, that, and the other. So if the seats were numbered, right?
You have a number seat.
Know that you're going there to sit. And the security, when he comes in, he see that there, he knows, hey, I have a seat number 165. This is my seat.
This is your seat. Yeah.
You 164, you cannot be holding a seat for someone, right?
Someone, yeah.
I am 165. That is why I think it's important in going forward that we number
the number.
We are selling those tickets, because that is where we had that problem. It looked like if we had a lot of empty seats for some reason or the other, because people just had to stand at the back. Right?
Yeah.
But they bought a ticket and they had a seat.
They bought a ticket and they had a seat.
People were holding seats for others and all these sort of things. So But Elva, yes, you're correct about that. There should be ushers, and that is what the ushers were doing. But people were claiming that they had
Someone else sitting there already.
someone
Yeah.
sitting there already. So, I mean, if someone, you see a bag there, it could be, I mean, it could be true that someone is sitting there, they went to the washroom, whatever. But my thing is that this can be easily rectified if you have numbered seats.
Numbered
So
seats.
you
Yeah.
cannot tell me if I have 165 that you're holding this for someone when I have 165 and this is 165. So I think that is where we can think. Yes, I could not even get a seat, sorry, in the main stand. So I went out and go to the bleachers. So here is where Theo had a ticket for, as she says, for the main stand. But unfortunately, she could not get a seat. So she had to go to the bleachers. And then we had the problem. On a serious note, there also needs to be more synergy between spirits and the sports, sports and the tourism people, including Hotel and Tourism Association. Big games and all eating place close at 9 p.m. Offer incentives for restaurants to open later. Cities like Toronto do it during NBA and baseball playoffs. Hundreds of people were seen hunting for food on Monday night. Yeah. Well, they were hunting for food since Friday. Since Friday, they were hunting because I met the president of the Bahamas Athletics, good friend of mine, on the beach, and he brought some friends. Well, the friends he brought basically were, I think they were first timers to Grenada. But he came there looking for somewhere he visited when he was here before, and it was closed. And he was like, all right, I'll have to take them somewhere else. Well, I don't know if he got somewhere else open, but that's the problem. I mean, you have so many visitors, and even some of the popular places were closed. Business sense, come on, and you cannot complain because here it is an opportunity, even if it meant at some point during the week you have to close early or close that day because you want to make up, because it's a business opportunity for you on that Easter weekend, right? On that Easter weekend, it's a business opportunity. And I think it probably the organizers may have to look in the future when they have these big games to ensure that they can either probably through, as Toro suggested, through the tourism authority or others, or directly through some of the popular places, contact them directly and say, hey, based on 2024, these are some of the complaints we have. We are suggesting here is what you can do for 2026, right? You probably need to look at how you can, and probably let us know so we can even let folks know. It's like, I took the opportunity, for example, the Montmorris breakfast, the West Indian type breakfast, and put it in our one of the chat groups we had, and say on Sunday, if you're looking for a West Indian breakfast, feel free to head up to Montmorris, just as a suggestion. So when I got there, I spoke to one of the officials, and he said, thanks for that, man. And I say, could you let me know if someone showed up? Could you tell me rather if someone showed up and they probably have an accreditation or something like that, so that you fix them up, give them a little discount and things like that. So, and he was like, sure. I mean, I didn't get a discount because I made that suggestion. I made the suggestion after, But the idea is that you never know if these people may show up to Grenada some other time, and they might say, hey, something? If it's a weekend, and they might ask, I wonder if there's this thing in Montmorris I enjoyed, because it was good breakfast, and the fried breaks, just name it, blood pudding, this, that, you choose whatever, saltfish sauce, blah, 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 and things like that, cocoa tea, whatever you want, and things like that. So these are the sort of things that people want to enjoy when they go to these meets, sort of indigenous,
Indigenous,
and I thought Folks were saying that outside of the hotel, they want no breakfast in hotel. So they wanted breakfast, a sort of indigenous Grenadian breakfast. So they were looking for, when they got to the stadium, like on Sunday after praise and worship at the stadium on Sunday, they were looking for breakfast at the stadium. So these are the sort of things I thought that we sort of fell short on to an extent, and it could be a little more coordinated, and something the organizers can look towards in terms of future hosting, you know. Um, they were holding seats for someone who's still at home. That's the culture. Yes. Yeah,
That's the culture. That's the culture.
yeah. Only the bleachers, the seat that should not be. Well, yeah, the bleachers, you can't number the
Yeah, the
seat.
bleachers should be non-numbered.
Had to calm my wife down because a couple who did not pay for finish line seats were sitting where we were. And you see, Clev was one of the persons who were making the point very early in the program about the numbered seats. And they promised to look into it. And I said, but if it was done in 2016, why can't be done? And it's an easy process. It's a simple process. It's there. The number actually is there. It's just selling the tickets in the main pavilion or the secondary, however you want to do, according to the seat number. And there's so many advantages, Rudian, in that you have an idea of how many tickets are sold. You don't get to,
Yeah, that's true.
you don't oversell and all these sort of things. You have an idea of how many more tickets you probably need, because based on that, you know that tickets are sold, and you have a better managing of that. The problem with so many people were standing because they could not get seats, because people who didn't have finish line tickets were actually sitting. And listen, it happened there because I saw people, and I checked it myself. I had accreditation, but you could have moved from the main pavilion, upper or lower, and go down to the finish line and sit. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
You could have done it.
Wow.
And I saw people did that. Why? Because when we had the rain interruption, for example, people got up, went to the back. Then the seats have to be, some people then probably go back there to sit. So other people.
Yeah.
Once I was standing there and I saw a thing where somebody was saying, I was sitting there. And the person said, well, I'm sitting here now. The person said they went because of the rain and just go back to get their seat. Somebody's sitting there.
Someone and that's sitting there.
I should be able to show that this is my seat. This is my seat. I'm allotted. I went to the washroom. I went back there. Whatever it is, this is my seat. And I think we need to, we need to work on that. Once I go to a game or concert after the game, we usually go to a restaurant or lounge. They could, hire. Grenadians business, especially the restaurant, don't think outside of the box, sadly. Just as you have schedule of events, you can have an information sheet of eateries and restaurants, their locations and their opening and closing hours. Yeah, I went to that breakfast. It was good. The row and number is already there. Yes, it's already there. I know it's there. So it's just a matter of printing the tickets accordingly. Because of the lack of seat numbering, it made things difficult for us who bought tickets for there. It made it look as though tickets were oversold for the main pavilion. Hope next time around that will be rectified. If I were young as Bascom, I would have joined the noisemakers and rum drinkers at the bleachers and don't bash the seat holders. I held seats on day 2 for my partner Harold and his wife. So Toro is confessing, right? He's confessing.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, he's confessing. He was one of the lawbreakers. He held the seat for Harold. The happy birthday guy. Harold celebrated his birthday in Grenada during the Carifta games. Folks, yes, that's all for now. We enjoyed ourselves. As we'll say, Carifta was a blast. We look forward to the next edition, either St. Kitts or Trinidad and Tobago. And guys, listen, we have to start doing like what the other islands do,
Yep.
right? Barbados, yes, they're right there. Trinidad, yeah, right there. Forget the Bahamas and Jamaica. Wherever they go, they have a fan base they carry. Grenadians, we have to start seeing a little of that, but we have to do more of that. We cannot just be bad, and and we're not supporting them. Listen, you have a year now. It's either St. Kitts or Trinidad. By the end of the month, we will
Yep.
know where. Start
And,
organizing.
and and Michael, listen, I see some of the Trinidad posse coming in where a whole bus slew of them have the same T-shirt on.
No,
They organize them by their own T-shirt. They print
yes,
it.
Barbados did the same thing.
Yeah, they print it. They come together.
Antigua had a little support group. So that's what I'm saying. Hey, folks, listen. And it's not about school and this and that and things like that.
Yeah.
You're supporting Grenada, you're supporting Grenada, right? Whether they're athletes from SAS or from McDonald College or Caracu, whatever, once they're representing Grenada, we're supporting them, right? There was nothing about school in Carifta Games, right? The athletes from Jamaica high school boys is one of the most competitive and fierce. But when it comes to representing Jamaica, there's nothing about KC and JC and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's Jamaica. So too, it should be Grenada. So
Yeah.
I am saying, let's start organizing. If once you know by the end of the month into probably the middle of next month, that it is either St. Kitts or Trinidad, reach out to your family in Trinidad. Let them know that you're coming in 2020s. Reach out to your friends in St. Kitts or start organizing somewhere or the other, right? St. Kitts is very small, smaller than Grenada, right? Population-wise, etc., etc. So, it will be a problem for, accommodation and all these other. But they do have a lot of hotels, quality hotels and things like that. So, but my thing is that here is where the Bahamians beat us. Because what they may have been doing now is start organizing for Trinidad and St. Kitts, just in case.
Yeah.
So,
But even Michael, as much as we see, Jamaica coming year after year, they come, they get the most medals and stuff. They still cannot touch Bahamas and what Bahamas is doing,
well,
and how. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Bahamas have this culture
yeah,
of supporting young youths. It's
but
a
not,
culture. The government mentally have that cultured into them so they can charter the planes for them,
yeah.
for both the
They have
fans
the
and the
advantage.
athletes.
Well,
Yeah.
they have the advantage of the aircraft, right? They have the
Yeah.
airline, the national airline. So they did it for track and field, and they did it also for swimming. That's what they normally do. So, for example,
Yeah.
last year, when it was held when both swimming and track
Was in
and
the
field
same place.
were
Yeah.
held in Trinidad, they had 3 charter flights from the Bahamas. One for swimming, and 2 was for track and field because they have their big support with track and field,
Yeah.
right? 2024, they had 2 charter flights to Grenada. 2026, another 2 charter flights again to Grenada. Normally 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, one with the athletes and officials, the other one with the parents and support, blah, blah, blah. And what they do from early o'clock, they start selling seats. So they have that advantage. But there's nothing wrong. Hear why. I am certain if at least 100 plus Grenadians say we are going to wherever, that's enough for you to organize a charter. People are
A
going to
chartered flight. Yep.
yes, because you have the
Yep.
numbers.
Certainly.
So you can charter a flight and then you can sell the seats. Because that's normally what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, you can do that. So that's why you see the Bahamas and Jamaica and all of them. Jamaica normally would charter Caribbean Airlines flight because they have the numbers. But people have to start organizing. So we bad, we think, we this, that, but then when it comes to supporting, we quick to be critical, but we're not there to support. And that's a problem. One other thing I want to say before we go, Rudian. I witnessed an ugly scene at the Carifta Games, which I hope will never be repeated. coming from the secondary stand, there were folks
Yeah.
who were throwing insults at some of the athletes while they were competing. Yeah, and that was, to me, that was an ugly scene. And I don't think it augurs well for the development of our young athletes. It was from the secondary. And I spoke to one athlete who confirmed that, right? And I hope this will never happen again. And to be honest with you, if I had the authority and thing like that, so I'll find people who do those things while it's happening and
Yeah.
send and expel them from the stadium, get them out of the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, they do it in other countries where they remove people from football and all these other things, baseball, who heckling players and this other thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they and sometimes in some cases they ban them, they give them ban.
Yeah.
You
They get
can't
banned. Yeah.
do anything to the stadium for a period of time and this sort of thing. And if you're a repeat offender, then they ban you for life, and things like that. So, but I hope that doesn't repeat. It was sad that some of our athletes had to go through some of these things while competing. In one case, when they were walking out, and in another case, while they were competing. And I hope, I just want to mention it here as a passing, but I hope, this does not occur again. And if it does, that we deal with it instantly. Let's make it happen. I've been talking to the other half about it since last year, and I start saying for next year, yes, please do. We can do it. And I'm all for that. Went to Trinidad last year, already organizing for 2027, wherever it goes. Yeah. There are a lot of Grenadians staying in St. Kitts. There are a lot of Grenadians working in St. Kitts and staying in St. Kitts. So reach out to your folks. Just in case they're hosting it, you're safe. Just start organizing early. We have to create a fan base to support our athletes, our footballers. There is this thing, and we always use Jamaica as a gauge. There is never a competition, whether it's college or professional or youth, any part of the world where the Jamaicans are competing and they don't have Jamaican support.
So true.
Yes, they do. In fact, there's a lady, Olive. What's Olive's name? I know Olive is so familiar about it. She has what you call an organization that deals specifically, Rudian, with tour and charter.
Yeah.
So she organizes, whether it's for World Cup, whether it's for CONCACAF, World Championships, Olympics. Through her charter thing, they organize for airfare, accommodation, and sometimes tours. Tickets, rather. Yeah. So for the Olympic Games, you will see sometimes the Jamaicans sitting at the track and field or World Championship. You'll find them sitting together. Olive organizes this thing. So it will be airfare, accommodation, tickets to the meet, and sometimes little tours or whatever it is, but it comes as a package. The tours will be optional. The important thing will be tickets, airfare, accommodation, and tickets to the meet. And it comes as a package. They organize that. So that's why you find the Jamaicans sometimes sitting together, because they will, when they organize it, they will buy the seats, and things like that. So we probably don't have the numbers, but we can start looking at that, because since our athletes are doing well and we want to support them. So for example, in Oregon 2026, what's about those who are living in
United
the US?
States?
Yeah, probably on the West Coast. Los Angeles and Houston, Texas, and all these places. What's about organizing to go and support our athletes who will be representing us at that? Yeah. Thank you very much, Rudian. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure.
Such a pleasure, sir.
Yeah, a lot to talk about, but worth it though. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, thank you for your input as well. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that's Rudian Sylvan and Toronto, Canada, giving us his input as well. And yes, bashing teenagers, these disgusting people, I agree. They should be removed and banned from returning. Yes, yeah. That was sad. Yeah, some of that. our athletes had to go through some of these things. Just before I go, folks, if you get a chance, I know I put up a sort of poll there, and if you get a chance, you can always go and give us a little comment on the thing. It had to do with what is the biggest challenge facing young athletes in Grenada? Do you think it's coaching, funding, the exposure, mental preparation? You know, you can give a comment, leave your comments under there. What you think are the, affecting. Yeah. So yeah, please. What do you think? What is the biggest challenge facing our young athletes in Grenada? That's one. Another one will be, at what age should athletes begin structured training? Under 10, 10 to 13, 14 to 16, 17 plus. What age should athletes begin structured training, especially in the Grenada context? Again, something to think about. You can go back, you can check, you can give your comments and things like that. So, and another one is, what does Grenada need most to improve at the Carifta Games? Better preparation, overseas exposure, more competitions, improved facilities. What do you think? What does Grenada need most to improve at Carifta, at the Carifta Games? Again, it's up to you. Tell me what you think. And we go to another one. Should Grenadian athletes train overseas more often? Yes, definitely. Occasionally. Only elite athletes? No, develop locally. Again, what do you think? Should Grenadian athletes train overseas more often? Yes, occasionally. Only the elite athletes, or no, concentrate on developing them locally. Have your say. And we have another one. Here is this one now. Which event should Grenada focus on for medals? Sprints, field events, middle distance, or relays? Interesting. Which event should Grenada focus on for medals? Sprints, field events, middle distance, relays? I would say all. Yeah, I want to say all. Yeah. So that's another poll question. And here is one. Should Intercall be expanded to include more sports? Do you think yes, no, maybe, or it's not necessary? Should Intercall be expanded to include more sports? Do you think it should be expanded, or do you think no? Do you think maybe? Not necessary. What do you think? And I have another one, or final one. Who plays the biggest role in an athlete's success? Is it the coach, the parents? Is it the schools, or is it the federation? And we can use that for any sport, whether it's football, cricket, basketball, volleyball, swimming, tennis. Who plays the biggest role in an athlete's success? Is it the coach, the parents, the school, or the federation? She says all. Theo says all. Yep. Who do you think? All right, folks, when you get a chance, don't forget, you can scan our QR code. Yes, we do have our QR code. You can scan it, keep abreast of what's happening, trying to give TalkSports a little more. So, yes, please do. Feel free to scan the QR code, to follow us, like us, whatever it is. Yeah, folks, always a pleasure having you on our program. Looking forward to your company. Next week's God's willing, during the week we'll let you know, what the program will be like. A lot of interesting things, I should say, happening. So we may branch off from track and field for a while, although we have a lot of requests to deal with issues of track and field, because remember we have the Whitsuntide games coming up. It will be on the Whitsuntide weekend, which is the 23rd, 24th of May. So that will be the Whitsuntide weekend. You know, the Monday, which is the 25th, would be the holiday, which would be Whit Monday. You know, long ago, Whitsuntide used to be over the 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Whitsuntide weekend. Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, Monday used to be part of it. And it's now, I think, 2 days, probably a day. They may have it either the Saturday or the Saturday and Sunday. But we'll know probably in the coming days. Probably by midweek, we should know whether it will be over 2 days or whether 1 day. But Whitsuntide will be our next major. And you know, Whitsuntide over the years, of recent, I should say, have attracted some, you know, quality athletes to Grenada to compete. Some of them looking to qualify and things like that. So, so it's sometimes, to an extent, a last chance for some. You know, yeah. So you never know. We may have some quality athletes, a competition for athletes, come Whitsuntide. Yeah. So, folks, that's all for our program for this week. It's always a pleasure having you. It has been fun. Let me see some of the last comments. Structured training should start at 7 years old. Yeah, I always believe that when it comes to structured programs, it should be at a very early age. I hate to see 14, 15, 16-year-olds, you know, being taught. By then, as they'll say, they will have they would have learned all the bad traits. Yeah, they would have learned all the bad traits. But at an early age, that's why you see most academies, sporting academies, they cater for the very young, because that's where they learn the basics. So at an academy, you may have various stages of the academy, right? So as early as 5, 6, 7, they're in the academy and then they move. So for example, we have this Grenadian, Camillus Alexander. He has a cricket academy in Atlanta. And that is where he's catering for those youngsters at a very early age, albeit most of the folks who are in his academy are not West Indians, They are East Asians. They are from India and Pakistan and those places. That's where they take sports serious, especially cricket, very serious. So they pay for their youngsters, boys and girls, to be at this academy where every day, almost every day, they are going at the academy where they are learning to bowl, to bat, to field, techniques, etc. at a very early age. A Grenadian, Camillus Alexander, the former national, off spinner. Yeah, he has this academy, cricket academy. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I believe that if we do having these academies, this training, the structure for the program should be at a very early age. And I want to agree with you, Mr. Francis, Adrian Francis, that it should start as probably at 7 years, so probably even younger if it's possible, but at a very early age, right? We have to look at that, right? So, folks, thank you very much for joining us this weekend. We're looking forward to your continued comments and all these things. You had class athletes in those days, the likes of Hazley Crawford, Charlie Joseph, Horace Tweet, etc. Cycling, the Sardines brothers from St. Vincent, just to name a few. Yes, for the Whitsuntide. And that's one of the things I'm hoping to do for a program just before Whitsuntide, to talk about Whitsuntide back then, when it was track and field and cycling. The Whitsuntide Games, some of the best cyclists in the region used to come. As a matter of fact, I have on my page an interview, well, it's probably all over now, with Hazley Crawford, where he actually said that his first international meet was in Grenada. It was at the Whitsuntide Games back then. And he referred to the galvanized round. So we had to tell him, the old Queen's Park. Hazley Crawford, former 100-meter Olympic champion. Yeah, 1976 champion from Montreal, Canada, of Trinidad and Tobago. He was in Grenada. And he said his first international meet, meaning his first meet outside of Trinidad and Tobago, was actually in Grenada back then. And that would have been the Whitsuntide. So the Whitsuntide Games in particular has a rich history, rich legacy. You will have Jamaicans who will tell you that they have competed at the Whitsuntide Games back then. And the Whitsuntide was one of the most looked forward to regional track and field championship. It also had, even though it was grass, it also had a cycling component and also had a club component, because that's where I know, for example, Queen's Park Rangers, my home club. It was not just, Queen's Park Rangers then was not just about football. It had a track and field component. It had a cricket component. I traveled around with Queen's Park Rangers cricket. They had a female cricket team as well. My aunt was the wicket keeper for the women's team, and she made Grenada national team as a wicket keeper as well. Yeah. Through a club, Queen's Park Rangers. And I recall Whitsuntide Games, Queen's Park Rangers had a team as well, and particularly running the relay. Chenny Joseph's sister, Eve Joseph, she was good on the relay, running the relay legs. Think about it, folks. So Whitsuntide has a rich history, legacy. We'll talk about it in the coming days. Get someone to talk about, probably someone who competed. I've been trying to get Donald Pear to come on the program. We talk, outside of that, we talk, but he's just not ready to talk on the program. I believe he might have a lot to say outside of, competition itself. But I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying, and hopefully I'll get him to sting. One of these days, I'll get him to, to come onto the program and say something about it. To say what he probably wants to say, right? Just let me leave you with some, songs of what, I should say, of the Character Games, as they call it. It was a little jam session, as they will say, at the towards the end of the Character Games. And let me get. So even the minister was part of the jam session there. The minister, her PS, you had the folks from World Athletics, you had the NACAP chief, some of the presidents of the various federations. They were there in that video there, enjoying the Junkanoo with their closing session. That was Quincy Britton. Quince Britton. Yes, he was there with his calm shell, having a good time there for the the Junkanoo. He's almost part of the Junkanoo now, from since 2024. So they look forward to him being there, and he has a good time as well. Thank you very much, folks. Do enjoy the rest of the weekend. See you next week, God's willing.